Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Firefighters Podcast, where we seek to develop, inspire, and motivate the world of the emergency services operator through a series of wide-ranging conversations. Now, before we go any further, just hit that rate, follow, or subscribe button on whatever platform you're listening to. It's a key performance indicator for us and helps us reach even more people. Now, here's what we've got for you today. My guest today is Beci Newton. Becky's a station manager in the UK Fire and Rescue Service. Now, Beci first came to me in the podcast through a mutual friend, Gerard Mann, and quickly, after a couple of sort of back and forth messages and chats, became clear that Beci, someone who has some really great perspectives and framings and the way she words things that I just really wanted to bring out into the wider world. Through her travels and work in fire behaviour instruction, both in the UK and around the world, she's built a reputation for combining operational credibility with a real deep understanding of the science that underpins what we do. So yes, she's got an incredible understanding of fire dynamics, understands instruction, communication. She understands what happens when theory meets smoke, the heat, the hot stuff, the sharp end of the stick. But in our episode today, we're going to go way further and deeper than just talking about neutral planes and flames and compartment behaviours. Today, I guess we're really talking about identity, about who we are as a profession, about firefighters. In our conversation, we're asking some uncomfortable but necessary questions and trying to wrestle with who are we really as a fire and rescue service? Where have we come from over the last 2 decades? And how have we changed? And also why? We can all be familiar with things like change fatigue in this sector. And I often wonder how much of that change has genuinely made us better, made us stronger, made us more efficient, more effective on the fireground, and how much of it is maybe performative. How much has added real operational value or even organizational value, and how much, if we're honest, may have stripped something away from us. It's important to remember evolution is not automatically improvement. Institutions, organizations, cultures, service brigades can mature, we can modernize, we can become more inclusive, more aware, more reflective. All of that matters, but they can also drift. They can layer complexity over fundamentals, and we can become so focused on reform that we forget what must remain unshakable. So that is the wrestle, that is the tension at the heart of this episode. How do we innovate without forgetting the past? How do we change without losing ourselves? We need to be open to change, but sometimes when you hear some ideas or some innovations, you wonder, have we become so open-minded our brain has fallen out? Slightly provocative perhaps, but how do we embrace inclusivity, cognitive diversity, and modern leadership while still protecting the really core traits that make the frontline operators and firefighters in our sector dependable when it really matters? Reliability, discipline, calm under pressure, technical competence, resilience perhaps, and steadfastness when conditions deteriorate. Those qualities should be deliberate, not accidental. They are developed, they are forged, and they're tested through being built slowly, through hopefully our cultures, expectation, and shared standards. So what are we choosing to protect at all costs? What do we need to evolve deliberately? And are we sometimes mistaking noise for progress? We talk a lot about what things were like when we joined, and this isn't nostalgia for a romanticized past. And for neither of us, if you see some of the work that Becky's done and I've done, it's not a resistance to necessary change and reform. What we're trying to have is a conversation about holding two ideas at once. We can evolve culture without abandoning operational sharpness and readiness. We can modernize without losing identity. We can definitely broaden and have broadened who belongs and who is welcome in this profession without diluting the standards that keep people alive. We're going to try and wrestle with some of the parts of our sector that feel conflicted, and whether that tension is a sign of decline or simply a sign that we are growing up as an institution. We've got to remember where we came from and try and hold on to some of them great things, because progress without memory can be reckless. But tradition without honest self-reflection can be stagnation as well. It's the way it's always done, right? Somewhere between those two, maybe, is a high-performing, confident, disciplined, and inclusive fire and rescue service that we say we all want. Food for thought, maybe. This is my conversation with Beci Newton. I'll see you on the other side. How do we go about modernizing the fire service without completely losing ourselves? Because that was a big part of our sort of back and forths coming up to this. And you had some really, really interesting points on it.
I think it's really complicated because we know that we need to make changes, because the truth of it is we're always going to be an evolving organisation. Mm-hmm. Fire services, police, ambulance, the military, we are constantly going to be evolving. That evolution is influenced entirely by the world around us. And right now, the world around us is very, very fast-paced change. Very, very fast-paced change. But it's generational as well. Like, I always laugh, right? Because there's not a firefighter that I've met in like my 19 years of service as they retire, or when you go out on a retirement do and you see retired firefighters, we had the best days. We had the best days. And you go, because they were your days.
Yes.
My best days are not going to be your best days because I'm not you.
There's a survivor bias. Do you know what I mean? It's like, and also there's a recency bias. It's like you remember your bits. It's like glancing through a photo album, and you have a romanticism to them because that's what's contextualized who you are as a human being.
Yeah.
And also, our memory's terrible. It was 2 pumps to start with. Now it's all of a sudden 8, and it was the fire was 30 feet high when it was 10 feet high the last time you told me. There's an element to that, but you're right. We are just a manifestation of the wider society, because we always talk about being a representation of society, and society is changing its psychological contracts like more than I'm changing pairs of pants sometimes. Do you know what I mean? It does seem like the pendulum is swinging. Do you know what the what's it called? Is it called, not called Johari's window? Johari's window is a psychological
you're thinking the Overton window.
Oh, bang! God damn, that's why I love talking to you. The Overton window shifts dramatically every sort of 10, 15 years. I think it seems to have shrunk significantly lately, and everyone is playing kind of cultural gotcha in the wider society. I think that's why people have fallen out of love even further, perhaps with some political movements, and also even just with our entertainment. I remember someone saying to me probably like 5 years ago that they were like, the problem with films is these days, your WhatsApp group is funnier than some of the stuff you see on TV because it's been cleansed. But like you say, everything is always changing, and the world belongs to those who can inherit the change. It belongs to the student, belongs to those that can adapt. But it is, because I've reflected on this so much since she's sent some emails and we've had some back and forth on messages. I'm like, losing ourselves. What does that mean? Losing ourselves. Because I think about it like the brick, the house, the city, the country. I think of it self, team, watch, station, service, organization, sector, global. Do you know what I mean? It's like, and I think for people, when they change, some people fear being abandoned by their team or their service because they've changed to fit in. But then they don't know who they were. They don't know who they are anymore. Do you know what I mean? They've changed so many masks that they've forgotten who they are. And I see this to like actually put that in a lived example for people who are like, Pete, I think like you're just waffling rubbish there. Mums do this because you sacrifice your body, your social life, elements of your career, and you become mum. You become mum to baby or babies. Do you know what I mean? And you don't really have time to think about what do you want anymore, because everything is the thought of the thing that relies on you precedes any thought that you have. It's like, what's baby doing? What have I got time for after that? I'm doing this with baby today, so how much time have I got to see friend or whatever? And you just push all that stuff back until eventually there's no time for it. And then when that child, you said earlier, one of your children is 12, so my daughter's 13. Yeah. And that is the kind of age where you start to, in theory, for unless your child has a special supportive need, educational need or whatever, you start to get a lot of your independence back. And a lot of people have this where they're like, who am I even more? Like, hey, what sort of career are you into? You can go see all your friends again. You're like, I don't know my friends. I haven't spoken to them for 10 years. So why don't you start playing badminton again? Why don't you start playing rugby again? Why don't you start, and you're like, I don't even know if I like that anymore. We end up abandoning who we are. And I think to go right to the end of that, to finish my waffle on my little stool podium, is when people retire. Yeah. They don't even know who they are.
No.
Because it's a death of an identity. Yeah. I mean, I am fire service. I am firefighter. That's who I am. No,
well,
you're not. I was yesterday.
And to touch on what you just said, I became a mother when I was a firefighter, and I had spent a lifetime. I want to be a firefighter. I want to be a firefighter. Like, I remember seeing my school teacher when I was, recently out of my, well, we called them MDQs then, didn't we? But I just sort of passed that. And she was like, oh my gosh, you always wanted to be a firefighter even when you were like tiny. And I was like, I know, like I didn't want to be anything else. Then I had a child. And it was this really sudden, you've gone from being a firefighter to being a pregnant firefighter, which is not fun, to then suddenly being at home with a baby. And you have been robbed. You have been robbed. They've taken away who I am. So I've almost had like a small dose of that. And I think firefighters who've had significant injuries, you know what that feels like. And I think, in the context of the conversation we're having, particularly if you look at the last 5 years across, the UK, maybe the world, but definitely within the UK context, lots of fire services have had, but I'm talking of the service, not the self, that sudden sustained, you have to change. And that's shocking. And how has it been
you have to change? So you have to change might be the first or the second thing. So what I'm saying is, there's reasons things have to change. If something's not working, we can say you have to change because, and then the because can be because the environment's changed, or because you're the problem, or because the psychological contract has changed, or so yes, in many ways we've been told we need to change. But what do you? If I said to you, Becky needs change, what is the story you're telling yourself about? Like if I was going out for dinner, I'm going out for dinner tonight, and my daughter coming with us. If she came down and I said, Lily, you need to change. Is that because it's cold outside and I'm concerned for you? Is that because I think you're dressed inappropriately? Is it because we're going to a nice place and you look like a scutter?
You're in a hoodie and jeans. I don't know what a scutter is. Sorry,
she tells herself. Do you know what I mean? So what do you think? And I'm asking you the impossible question on behalf of other people, but like, what's been your felt sense of we need to change? Okay, why?
I think the first thing is why. And I think what we really struggle to do, and I think what was really interesting around, as a service, we had a review and then we had all these recommendations and stuff. But where we didn't start with is who we are. Who are we? Because if so many people are like viscerally reacting to what they're reading within that report and going, that's not who we are. That's their lived experience. They haven't lived that lived experience within that report. They haven't lived that lived experience within what the press is saying. It doesn't discount that those things may be true for other people, but if that's not that person's lived experience, then that can't be our whole culture. And I think where services are really struggling is what is our entire culture? Because it's really easy to review the negative. It's much harder to review the positive and actually go, who are we? And I think if you were to ask any service right now, what is your culture and who are you? They would struggle to give you a concise and
massively, because you're trying to articulate what ultimately is a visceral feeling. It's a bit like, what is religion to you, or what is faith to you? That is hard for people to put words to, which helps the doubters go, sounds like BS, to be honest, Becky. I mean, like what you think about the universe is bigger than you, or this person in the sky, or this person in the cloud, or a feeling. Do you know what I mean? But also, if I said to people, how do you know you love your partner? They'll go, she's always there for me. She's always happy to see me. She's an amazing cuddler. She really loves me. What is she, a Labrador? Do you know what I mean? Like, it doesn't. That's not you're listing off.
I think the other thing, though, especially within a fire service context, for me, I've been with my husband for nearly as long as I've been in the fire service-ish. And it's like, we're now at that point where it's like, well, he's just my person. Like, he's just there. Like, this job is just there. It's part of me. You cut me in half and, I'm fire service all the way down like a stick of rock. I am this thing. It is me. We are inseparable. And I think that's why it becomes really difficult to verbalize, because are you talking about a self or are you talking about a service culture? Because a services culture won't be yours. You will have we've got the core code of ethics. We've all got values. We've all got those things that we work within, and they're our, But even within that, we will all have different ways that we interpret those and apply them to ourselves. And that is difficult when you have to look at it as that macro as opposed to the micro. Me as a person, me on my watch, me within, my unitary authority, and how I sit there could be completely different to that bigger picture.
A 1,000%. But when we take that micro macro, because I love that framing, to even a wider context, because what you said earlier about the societal element, there's Robert, there's a guy called Robert Putnam. He wrote a book in the late 20th century, is Bowling Alone, and he talks about this track decline in something he describes as social capital, and it's basically like the glue that holds communities together, like trust, shared norms, like formal, informal networks, civil engagement. And he demonstrates, I think quite articulately, if anyone wants to go and get the book. I know the book's called Bowling Alone, but it's Putman or Pum, I can't remember how his last name. It's a weird last name. But like club memberships, community participation, union involvements, church attendance, informal socializing. How well do you know your neighbor? Do you know your neighbor at all? I wave at my neighbors and I'll take their bins in and all that jazz. I don't really know. Not having barbecues over the fence like we were 20 years ago. And as we've said a couple of times, but I want to keep turning this idea over in our head, there has been a massive decline in social capital. So are we trying to fix locally what is just a societal shift? And how do we do that? I don't know.
I don't think we can. I don't think you can push back against, if something is happening externally, we as a service can't be responsible for eradicating something that we didn't create, right? No. So, and I'm going to go with something really simple, right? Mm-hmm. Misogyny. People will say, is the fire service misogynistic? Yeah. Mm-hmm. But that's not the fire service's fault. The world is misogynistic. The fire service sits within the world. That doesn't make the people in it misogynists. It just means that we are working within a framework of a society that functions this way. Are we doing all the right things to make that better? Yeah. Day by day, people do make good choices every single day, but you can't reframe something that we are all literally born into.
MSA are supporting us on today's podcast, and I chose to partner with them because I've been wearing this stuff for nearly 20 years, and they are the global leader in development, manufacture, and supply of incredible, safe products that really protect people, not just our communities out there, but also first responders, most importantly, all over the world. Get yourself over to MSA and have a look at it. The high-performance protective clothing for emergency services responders. They also partner with us on the UK Pink Firefighters. That's because we love them. The helmets with the reflective visor, the F1XF, absolutely epic helmet. And not forgetting how they improve firefighter safety through their connectivity in the connected firefighter platform. MSA are always pushing the envelope, and it's a real privilege to be able to continue to grow our partnership together. So whether it's your PPE, your bunker gear, your helmets, your SCBA, your thermal imaging, your Luna, or your portable gas detection, both of us know that this equipment needs to work. It needs to be high quality, reliable, and dependable in the moment. And that's why I use MSA, because they know what's at stake. Do you think the world, as we say the world, is consciously misogynistic, or do you think it has a structural predisposition to men in certain roles? As if I'm trying to make assumptions of what you're articulating there.
So I'm not articulating. Sorry, I apologise. I'm not looking at it from a...
But I don't want to make an assumption of what I think you said. Yeah. Because, trigger happy, do you know what misandry is?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so
most
women
who...
Yeah.
People that hate men. Not necessarily just women. It can be men that hate men.
Yeah,
you know
absolutely.
What I mean? You can have women who are misogynistic, and you can have men who are misogynists.
Yes.
But everybody knows what a misogynist is. No one knows what a misandrist. But
I don't think we look at it from... I think we do that thing, and it's exactly the thing I was talking about sort of with culture. Mm-hmm. It's internalized. So whenever it's discussed, people take it personally and they go, I'm not that person. And you go, no, you're not. You're not that person. You don't actively go out. And I don't think you hate people. I think you're just working within a framework, like the rest of the world, where this is how society has been built and we need to change things before those things will become the norm. And that's just a process that we're always going to go through. but certain things are inescapable. And I think, there are power dynamics that feed into it that we don't choose.
How much of that is nature versus nurture? Because I want to circle back to social capital environments around fire stations in a minute, but I do want to back and forth this the misogynistic organizational structures, because I agree with you. So let's start with that basis that I agree with you. But I think the hidden threat of it is, and I might be sounding slightly performative and exaggerative now, but hey ho, it's a podcast. Yes, there are more men at higher levels of organizations. There are also more men in prisons. Yeah. And there are all men, I think it might be more than 3-1 men that kill themselves versus women. Because we're just little testosterone monkey-fueled things.
But that's not the case.
And we want to gamify things and all that sort of jazz. So I'm like, we have a natural, in my interpretation from things I've read, and I could be completely wrong, we are more risk tolerant. We have a higher risk appetite. And it's like, you remember, did you read Sabrina's book, Gender Bias?
I haven't, but I've read sort of
there's a great point in there where, through a variety of studies that she threads together to support, which is a good argument, when she says women will apply for jobs if they think they have 90% of the required and or desired character traits. Men will apply if they've got 30%.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, Pete, can you ride a horse? Yeah. It's like a big dog, right? I'm sure I'll nail it.
What could possibly go wrong?
Like, oh, I'm going to do a 6-month course in equine study and I need to get my... Do you know what I mean? Great, admirable, but likely a man will go first, develop first and move further forward.
Yeah, and I wonder sometimes with those sorts of things, who creates that pressure? It's really interesting. Do women put that pressure on themselves? Is that because they think they need to rise to a higher expectation for other people? Is that something that happens when they're dinky? The risk thing. It's I don't know what study is from. I'm not, that sort of thing. But, you hear things about like the way that we parent boys and girls is different. We will tell girls to be careful much, much quicker than we will boys and all those sorts of things. So because their parenting is different right from that baseline, how much is that affecting your 35-year-old who's not applying for a job? You don't know. But I think, for me, it's like the changes need to be about everybody. Like I kind of regret now using misogyny as an example, but it just seems
it's correct. It's just the dose. It's like, is this 100% of the problem, or is it? I think it's part of the problem, 1,000%. Yeah. I think structurally it still exists. But I feel like we're apologising for things of the past too much. And beating over the head our young men and women, like our 17, 18-year-old boys, going, you know what you've done. And they're like, what?
They're like, no, I don't.
No.
Yeah.
I don't even understand. Like, what are you on about? You're on about my great-great-granddad. I mean, what am I doing?
Yeah, absolutely. And like within the context of the service, I think we are right in that moment of beating ourselves up. We're beating ourselves up and we're berating ourselves. And it's like, hang on, have we done a wide enough and good enough scope of who we are right in this moment? And also, do we even know actually where we want to be? What's the end goal here? What does good look like in order to... Because I think...
That is Have you heard of Goodhart's Law before?
No.
Goodhart's Law is when a goal, measure becomes a goal. So if you say, I want more equity and equality in my workplace, no matter where you work, it doesn't matter. Do you know what I mean? Fire service or somewhere else. Great direction of travel. If you turn it into a metric, it starts to be gamified. And then it no longer becomes a good directional goal. Because that's like you say, we have to have when does it look like complete? And I always try and pin down EDI leads in services. So when I go around talking and they go, we're aiming for, and I go, well, when do you know when you've achieved it? Because I think you're doing fantastic. I mean, you've got positive engagement, you've got positive and not discrimination, but, like when we give people opportunities and preferential treatment and stuff like that, sometimes you've done an incredible amount, reasonable adjustments, all this sort of stuff. When is enough? And that doesn't mean stop.
No.
But when have we embedded that value to an extent where it could naturally progress alongside our other values? Because we don't have regular sessions on trust exercises. We don't have regular sessions. I'm really frustrated that we don't do more sessions on open communication and, like the ability to build rapport and the ability, paraphrasing and active listening and whatever. Because I'm like, that one would be a rising tide that raised all the ships, because so much of the cultural damage we do is because of poor communication. So I think if we worked on that, but just to go back to the Good Hearts Law thing, if you said, what's the goal? And they said 50-50. And I said, well, that's become a gamified target now.
Yeah.
And you're probably going to end up manipulating other structural elements innocently because you've put a number on it.
Mm.
Whereas I don't think you needed to. Do you know what I mean?
But the other thing, and it's an old trope, isn't it? And it gets said time and time again, the right person for the job, the right person for the job. It should be the right person for the job. And it should be people that want to be here and want to be doing this job. And the truth of it is, you can't create equality within numbers. You just need to bring in the people that look and go, I want to do that job. And, I don't believe, when people say, we've lowered standards, our standards have changed because our kit and equipment and the roles that we do have changed. We still, have expectations, and people have to rise to those expectations. That is the truth for all services. And I think, unfortunately, exactly as you said, we're punishing ourselves for old things. Often it's not people within services saying those things. It tends to be people from the past telling us, that we're not as good as they were. And it's like, no, we're just different. We're just different to what you were. And that's okay, because our built environment is different. Our kit and equipment is different. The calls that we're attending are different. That's okay. We're still achieving things day after day after day. We're still doing the job. I just don't want us, exactly as you said, get lost in this gamified idea of becoming robots.
Yeah. That's the big concern. It's the whole, a water which is too pure has no fish. If you tried to sterilize things completely, you would lose all of the beautiful characters that we have in our fire and rescue service that ironically make it a wonderful place to work. Do you know what I mean? People say, I said, why did you join the fire service? And they're like, because the people. That's the honest truth. You met a firefighter or two at one point in time and you went, oh God, I know this girl, Beci. Absolute scream. Like the ideas that she's got, she's really tactile. She's really, she's a kinesthetic learner. She's a problem solver. She's hands-on. She's this, she's that. She's got command presence and whatever. She's great at building rapport. She can take control of the situation. She's a firefighter. You didn't join because you like the look of the badge.
No.
You'd probably like the look of the badge afterwards. Yeah. But it's just an organisation. It's no different than Marks and Spencer's or Barclays Bank. You know what I mean? It's just there's someone at the top, different layers, different levels of responsibilities. But it historically has always been a place where the beautiful clowns and freaks of society that couldn't find a home would go. My words, not yours. But they would.
No, I agree. I'm one of them.
Yeah, exactly. And they would go there and go, yeah, I think a bit differently as well. I would struggle to exist in a 9 to 5. So they come to the fire service, and then we try to whitewash that with the same corporate structure that exists in your Marks and Spencers or your Barclays. Do you know what I mean? And especially when you have governments inspecting them and going, you should be exactly like this. And we're like, are you any idea the level of undiagnosed neurodivergence we've got in this bag of cats that we've got on station? Yeah. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. It is that thing. We've got this fantastic thing in work. It's like the Do It profiler where people can go in, and it's not a diagnostic tool, but you can sort of see whether a diagnosis might be a good idea. And, it's fantastic work that the service have done, but it's that thing where it's just like, what if we did everybody? And it was like, That could be very, very interesting. Very expensive, probably
There's
not
one called The Genius Within.
Yeah, really similar. So really,
Yeah.
And it just go, ooh, that could be fascinating, but also...
I used to do it with all of my recruits when I was in training school, and it wouldn't give them any, like you say, diagnosis, but it would say, hey, by the way, you scored about this on there. You might consider doing this. You might consider asking for resources ahead of time. Or, you know, if you're facilitating a session for this person, it might be worth having something visual to display. It might be worth giving them the ability to write things down as you're going through them. It's probably good that you structure breaks every 20 minutes. You know what I mean? It would just give, well, what we now call reasonable adjustments. Do you know what I mean? So that everyone can exist in the same sort of level of engagement throughout, you know, the sessions that you're trying to run. But I want to go back one more time and just look at, no. This is a beautiful rabbit hole, and it's the same thread, and we'll move on in a minute. But when we're looking at trust, because I mentioned trust earlier, broader society, I think, has become a lot more individual and less trusting. We live so independently now. You order everything from Amazon, you stay at home and binge Netflix, you know, you go to the gym with your headphones on. And the recruits and people entering our organizations today are shaped by that same environment. The service isn't immune to the psychological weather that's outside. And I wonder if we're experiencing internal, well, I don't wonder, I'm pretty damn sure we experience internal fragmentation, partly because the wider society we recruit from is simply more fragmented. Do you know what I mean?
So my way of looking at this, and I think this is something that this is all services. We talk a lot about leadership. We talk about leadership all the time. We have leadership frameworks within the NFCC. We have leadership doctrines within our own services. No one talks about followership. Right?
Yeah.
And followership,
Same way
I think,
that in the library there's loads of self-help books. There's no help others books, is there?
No, exactly. And, you know, it's, if you consider, you know, the followership pattern, if we are to just even look, you know, if we look at the last 100 years of the fire and rescue service, you know, you've got the lost generation, then you've got your boomers. We know that they liked structure. We know that they liked, you know, they lived within a more authoritarian, and they were happy to like, you've told me what to do, and I'm going to go over there and do it.
Yes sir, no sir.
Right?
Yep.
Yes sir, no sir. Then you sort of had your Gen X that were kind of like, we're just going to just crack on because it's just, you know, sort of thing. And then, and then you fall into my generation where the millennials sit, and you're kind of pulled between two worlds because autonomy becomes a thing, right? The web gives us access to the world. Suddenly the world is in your hand in a phone.
It's a global village, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. And societal change accelerates. But, you know, if you come then even to, what's the next ones? Gen Z? I want to say Gen Z. There's another one.
Gen Z are after the millennials. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll pull them up in a second.
Yeah. So you got your Gen Z, and then like my kids into your Gen Alphas. Their school structure is totally different now. They come into a classroom and it's, you know, let's discuss this together. Let's make this an open conversation. Absolutely fantastic for the majority of occupations they might find themselves in. You know, they are going to be entering worlds that aren't even invented yet because of digitalization and all this stuff. And school needs to build different types of kids. But guess what? In the fire and rescue service, to extents in the police service, certainly in the military, we still need someone to make the kids that you go over there and dig a hole, and they go, okay.
Yeah.
Right? Because that's what our job sometimes is. And I think what we're really poor at is recognizing and almost developing our new recruits, because they're coming from these worlds, into understanding from that followership perspective of, I'm going to sometimes be quite bossy, quite direct. I may raise my voice because I'm in a situation where there's a pump running and there's, you know, and I'm not shouting at you. I'm not being mean to you. I'm not trying to make you feel bad. I'm trying to artificially create the same sort of pressure and stress that you're going to come under in 12 weeks' time. When I set you out into this big bad world and you start dealing with the stuff that is the reality of this job. And I think, you know, because of the way that we've done leadership, we've recognized we need leaders who can be those drill yard strong, you know, on an incident ground. They can give orders and they can be, you know, and
we
need you to be, We need those people, and we know, that we need those, but we can be different people around a mess table. We can be different people in the watch office. And I think followership could lead into less distance and discourse, and less misunderstanding of what is actually taking place on a fire station and what is taking place on firegrounds.
Is it because we are organizationally rewarded for our hard skills, i.e. command and control and stuff like that? You do your level 1, you do your level 2, you are recognized and almost gain social capital through your operational abilities a lot of the time, certainly for grey book frontline staff. You don't really get any reward for the soft skills organizationally. This is why I think we should do more things like 360 feedback. Because if we go, let's, Becky's going for promotion or whatever, and we go, let's have a look at Becky. Okay, oh crikey, she's a great level 2 commander, and she's had a few OPMs, and they've seen her performance operationally and gone, damn, she's amazing, and she's a hazmat officer, and she's a this and she's a that. But we don't go, hey, Becky's team, what's Becky like? Let's do some anonymous feedback. Scale of 1 to 10. How much do you trust her? Scale of 1 to 10. How much do you think she listens to you? Scale of 1 to 10. How much do you think she has the values of the organization? Would you approach her with something? Whatever. Do you know what I mean? What's her planning like? And if they said, I think Becky's a bit of a dick,
I may be right.
I don't trust her. I don't trust her. She's mean. Yeah. Because we could say, Becky gets such great performance out of her team. Now, there's a couple of ways to get it.
Because they're terrified.
I could just scream at you until you do it. Eventually, you'll do it just to shut me up. But the end of the metric will show you got a result. And I have the same frustration with like the people sat at the other side of the table. So like I was just asked to participate in some recruits interviews. And I said, yeah, cool, sounds good. When's the sort of standardization or training sessions for it? Because I like to think we're all singing off the same hymn sheet. And they said, oh, well, you've done your interview training. So when did I do that? And they were like, oh, yeah, I've got you down like a couple of years ago you did it. So I don't remember it. And they said, oh, you probably won't. It was only a couple of hours long. I said, okay, what was it? So is everyone doing this interview training? They were like, yeah. I said, can you fail it? And they said, no, it's like, it's more familiarization, like we give you some techniques and stuff like that. I said, but not everyone would make for a good conversational partner, because they may be at a more senior position because of their greater ability in command and control, which wouldn't make for them to be a good conversational partner. They might be terrible at, building rapport with somebody, keeping them talking, making them feel comfortable, but we'll just let anybody do it as long as they hold a certain rank. And ironically, if you work in, I'm not going to like stereotype any particular departments, but if you work in certain departments where perhaps you work more alone with a tremendous amount of data or policy, maybe you're knowingly or unknowingly high functioning autism and you survive absolutely fine in society and you have got friends, but you prefer to work alone and you don't really like having meetings in person and you're just good at data. Sound like I'm really stereotyping people, but you would not make for a very good interviewer. You're probably amazing at your job and we need you. We need you. Hence why, we want more diversity in organizations. But then just don't go, anybody can interview. Because if you've got two of them in there, trying to interview a brand new recruit, their impact intended will be, I'm going to come in here, I'm really interested in listening to what the person has got to say, and I hope they join the organization. I hope they do really well. But you're giving them no visual feedback. You're not really making very much conversation with them. You're just writing most of the time. That person's going to feel terrible, and they'll probably have a really crap interview because they're interviewing to be a firefighter. And they're just a bit of a young knuckle dragger, want to get in there, get amongst it, really genuinely want to help people. They really do. Like, they're so excited about it. And they're probably not going to put their best self forward. Do you know what I'm trying? I feel like I went off on my own segue there.
No, I totally get where you're coming from. And I think, it's interesting for me, you say about the firefighter interview. I think this is like tricky, but like sometimes when we're interviewing for a firefighter, what are we looking for? Because we all know that, the fire service is this brilliant and diverse, and, you alluded to it there. There are so many different roles you can drop into, right? I am not naturally leaning towards business fire safety. Not my world. Okay. Just not, I'll
talk about that. I'm not going to interrupt you, but I think there's something people missing there. But anyway.
Yeah, no, but it doesn't excite me and it doesn't draw me in. But I've got another 22 years to go. In 10 years, I might be a different person. And suddenly I look at that and go, change my mind. That looks really different to me now. Because I've changed and I've grown and my perspective is different. But I think because of, difficulties within promotion processes and how promotion processes are run and how, we do squeeze triangles into squares and squares into triangles because that's where the next job is and stuff like that. And that challenges us to go, well, actually, are you the right person for that job? But if we wind it all the way back to when we bring firefighters in at the front door, not everyone can be chief. Not everyone can be a GM. Not everyone can be an SM. There's not enough spaces for everyone to get there. So if we're interviewing at the front door that you could potentially be these things, we're doing a massive disservice to the fact that actually we need 30, 40-year firefighters as well, or 20-year or 10-year. We need people who want to commit themselves to what is the whole point of our job, and I think we fall into a trap sometimes where we lose the focus of what that 40 years could look like for that person. When I was interviewed at 18, I was not who I am now. And thank goodness, but yeah, how do you define? And I think it comes back to that thing, right at the heart of it. Who do we want to be and what do we want to be? Because I think that's, I'm not saying that we should gamify. I'm not saying that we should have an end goal, but we need to have some idea. And I think if we really scratch the surface, we're kind of there. Do our people put people first? Yeah, every single day. But how do you ensure that we're picking a wide enough scope? It's really tricky. We need to. It's such a diverse job. How do you interview at one stage for that?
And also, like you say, at each different stage, typically we are having people that entered at different generations as well. So they will have an entirely different context, because those people that are in our senior leadership at the minute, most likely, will be the latter end of the boomers.
I don't know. I think that's kind of changing. I know.
Well, it will shift now.
But I mean,
with the next ones come more. So the boomers, by nature of a boom, the post-war boom, they have more independence, I think, and they're more optimistic about that post-war boom. Do you know what I mean? They've got more faith, unconsciously probably, around how they can lean into organizations and trust them, and people will be looked after them, and they had more abundance. My mum and dad were able to buy houses, and their houses rose tremendously in economic value. Whereas when we look at the next generations, I mean, like our generation as an example, we joined in the mid 2000s. We started with analog, we didn't have any smartphones. We didn't have any of that constraint.
Yeah.
And then we went through, even in our infancy, but we saw our parents experience it, the financial crashes, the wage stagnations, the housing affordability issues, job insecurity, which typically grew scrutiny.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? We didn't think
absolutely.
Life was going to look after us as much, and we entered the workplace with perhaps a bit more pessimism and questioning things more than the previous generation before us. And I think that's led to us thinking more differently because of our pessimism in the historical structures, because we've seen things like the massive housing markets crash. We've seen people lose their jobs. So we go, hang on a minute, this might not be a forever thing. We need to be more open to doing things differently. Whereas when you're saying that to someone that didn't experience it in their formative earlier years, because they were going through boomers or whatever, then they will just it's like the concrete of your mental mind, your mental framework wasn't built the same. You had a different ingredient in your concrete. So your initial reaction and thought to anything will go through a different filter than mine will.
Yeah.
Because it just wasn't how you were, it wasn't your nurture, it wasn't how you grew up. Firefighters, police officers, and first responders are now stepping into environments wired with more high voltage than ever before. Everything from electric vehicles to solar panels feeding direct current through compromised structures, overhead power lines, and illicit drugs factories with improvised lethal bypasses. Any single strike in the wrong place in this type of environment can turn things fatal very quickly, and that is exactly why we've partnered with Jafco. You already know who Jafco are. They have been relied upon for decades for sturdy, get-the-job-done equipment, and they are not resting on their laurels. They are evolving to face the challenges first responders are handling today through their insulated tool range. These are purpose-built for the scenarios where contact with hidden electrical hazards isn't just possible, it is increasingly likely. Their insulated tools are engineered for real-world abuse and use, designed to keep firefighters, police officers, and all first responders alive in environments where electrification is outpacing policy, equipment, and training. And you know this. This is the kind of innovation our sector needs and the kind of investment organizations should be stepping up to support if we are serious about protecting first responders from fatal consequences. So a massive thank you to Jafco for backing the podcast and backing the crews on the ground. Go check them out, learn what they're doing, and bring that conversation into your service, because this isn't about the future, it's about right now.
But I think it even comes down to, and I don't know whether, the financial crashes and stuff influence this, but younger generations now, that Gen Z generation, they're about collecting experiences rather than stuff. So I think they've kind of gone, I'm probably not going to be able to afford a house, so I'll rent somewhere, but I will want to go on nice holidays, and I will want to, I want to see the world, and I want to experience things, stuff, things rather than stuff.
I agree with them though. But I've taken that pill big time.
Yeah.
I think we don't want to live longer. We want more experiences.
Yeah, but I think that also that translates into their work. So they want a different relationship with their work. They don't,
their work-life balance expectation is very different. Yeah,
but not even that. I think I acknowledge that when I joined the service, second day Friday. Everyone knew what second day Friday was.
Yep.
You all went out as a watch.
Yeah.
Retirement dues, it didn't matter that you didn't know the person retiring. You go because one day you want people to come to your retirement due, so you go to the retirement due. All of these little things I have watched decline. Now, is that decline being caused by a fear of, saying something wrong, doing something wrong, this idea that you may end up in trouble? I think there's an element of that, but I don't think it's the full story. No. I also think that for a lot of this new generation, they're like, you're my workmates, you're not my friends.
Yes, very true. And also our structures have reflected it. So as we've tried to become more equitable and approachable employer, we've come up with more rota and shift systems. So we have self-rostering, we have day crewing, DCPs. They're not all 224s, rigid structures now. And there's great more flexibility. So I currently work on a self-rostering station. As by its nature, for the public, like you pick your own shifts. We work 12 and a half, 13 shifts a month. But I probably won't work with the same people, maybe at all, that month.
Yeah.
Even though I'm technically in charge of them. There's only one watch manager, there's 3 crew managers, and then there's a load of firefighters. But I might not see some of my firefighters more than 2 or 3 times a month. Do you know what I mean? So trying to organise a social on these stations is an absolute nightmare. Yeah. But if we believed it from a leadership, well, it's what you're optimizing for. So I'm sure we still believe it. If you ask the blunt question, do you think socials are important to the culture of watches? Pretty much everybody's going to say yes.
Yeah.
But is that the main thing you're optimizing for? Because we would also say, I think looking after my own physical health is really important. And you go, okay, well, why do you drink them? Why do you eat like a pig? Do you know what I mean? Why don't you go to the gym? So I think it's an important thing. Is it the most important thing? Is it what I'm optimizing for? So if we've optimized more for work-life balance and giving people, dads, mums, shared childcare, whatever, all of us better options or more options at least, I always say there's no solutions, only trade-offs. So there will be a trade-off cost to that. And we've unconsciously perhaps accepted that there will be the ties that bind the culture will be thinner. But then if you're listening to an audience, as we've just spoken about, an audience of newer generation that goes, actually, I'm not really that bothered. Do you know what I mean? I don't care if we don't sort of do a social together. Even like we try and eat together as much as possible. So I never take anything to work with me except like some protein and some creatine. I don't take food with me because I want us to cook some food together. Now, I know some people have got different dietary requirements and all that sort of jazz, but my missus is gluten-free. She's celiac. So, like, I'll eat kind of anything. And I want us to sit together. I don't want everyone to disappear with the lunch boxes. And that's one thing I think people, again, at headquarters miss out on. I mean, some consciously still sit together, which is wonderful. And if I'm ever there, I'll try and sit in the canteen with them. And even if you've got your own stuff, which you typically will have. But you end up not. You know, people will go off because they want their private time. I'm going to watch something on YouTube. And I go, oh, can you not? Can you not? You know what I mean?
But and this is where it kind of gets tricky, isn't it? Because how do you do that in a way that doesn't take away their autonomy? And how do you, but it's how you dress it. It's entirely how you dress it. So it's like, bring your lunchbox and we'll all sit together. Like, it doesn't matter what you're eating. It's the breaking of bread together as that unit. And it's those conversations. And, you know, we talk about, you know, things, the old adage, you know, there's no rank in the mess and all that sort of stuff. Like we do recognize the division of where we are in charge and not in charge and stuff like that. But
I think sometimes we do. I want to get onto that in a minute about meetings, green book, grey book, and that conversation in a minute. But I think it's a hidden lost cost. So when I think back to the Fire Service College, when I'm doing courses there, and you eat with everybody, and the cost is built in, you pay for the meals, When you go back to services, I was at Lancashire again recently, and they still have a fully functioning cooking team who are in the mess for everybody at their training department. I don't know. I'm pretty sure they probably don't do it on stations. So, but at the headquarters that I work at, we have cleaning staff, but we don't have any people working in the kitchens, even though there is a really expensive kitchen on one of the floors. It's empty. Like nothing, the stuff probably still works, and I imagine you're allowed to use it, but like no one ever uses it because they just don't. But you're saving money. I remember when our training department stopped doing meals for you if you came on a training course, and we saved something like 50 grand. I probably got the number wrong. And they were like, massive. That's a watch manager's wage. One more watch manager in the department. I'm like, but there's a massive hidden cost to that. And they're like, well, people are adults, they can bring their own food. I know. And this is the whole, not everything that can be measured is worth measuring, and not everything worth measuring can be measured. Do you know what I mean? And this is the hardest thing about culture, because we go, right, I'm going to measure your culture, Becky. We've got to agree on some metrics. What's the metric? Do you know what I mean? Because if I say, my service is the greatest service, my brigade is, okay, what's the metric? What size of it? Turnover? Amount of incidents you attended? Amount of fire fatalities? What's the metric? Amount of awards that you won?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Who says the best of what? How long you've been around? I don't know.
We're not an organisation. We're not a service. We're not a sector that makes a budget. We don't make money. We don't go, our profits this year was this. And
that's so difficult.
You know, so how do we measure? Like I said, measuring success is also measuring, how do you measure, you know, what we are and who we are? Yeah. We know what our core function is. And I had a conversation with somebody, not in the service, after the review into the service I work in, you know, and if you read this review, it was brutal, you know, misogynistic, racist, homophobic, you know, all of the things that, you know, hurt to have to take in as yourself.
That someone across the dinner table, you'd be like, whoa, sorry, I'm sorry, like that really hurt.
Yeah,
that's not me.
and ironically, we were at a sort of like dinner with friends and stuff, and we were talking about it, and I sort of said, I can assure you that in my service, but also right across this country, if at 3:00 in the morning a fire engine pulls up outside a house and someone says there's a family in there, at no point do those firefighters go, oh, before I do something, could you just let me know the colour of their skin and their
age, what are they talking?
Age? You know, I mean,
what's the socioeconomic value? Are these worth saving? You know what I mean?
Come on. That's not who we are.
Yeah.
Exactly, and so. actually, if you peel us back to our absolute centre, we're the absolute opposite of those things. So it's no shock that when you call people whose core is helping, that they are that it absolutely shatters them. And I think it always it just comes down to intent. And I think what's often really lost is intent. What was actually the intent of, what's being reported on? Was there actual, was there a desire to cause harm?
Was it malice?
Was there malice, right? But beyond that, again, what was their education prior to sort of prevent, right? Because I think it's ironic, right? We talk about, like, in the last 30 years, we've done a lot to prevent fires rather than turn up to fires. What have we done as a sector to prevent some of the more emergent sort of culture, in inverted commas, issues that we're seeing now? And I think the truth of it is, if you look back, senior leaders would say, no, we've got good people. Yes, we do have good people, but they are begging you for direction as to how to exist as them in this new world. And the world is changing so quickly. How do you get ahead of that?
Because in one vein we go, be yourself, Beci, and then we go, hey, not like that.
Yeah.
Not like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? You're like, oh,
no.
Wait.
Yeah.
I've got some beautifully wonderful members of my team on the station that I work at, and one of them has been in the fire service longer than I've probably been alive, I think. And he is one of the kindest men I've probably ever met. He's affectionately referred to as Grandad. But
see,
his world is very small. Not like small in condescension, but like he's worked at an on-call station for maybe 30 years. And he's been the whole time as well. And he's really great. He's really passionate. His standards for cleaning and respect. But there's so much about cultures he doesn't know. And I have seen at times his surprise of people's cultural differences been met with different than it was intended. Because he's not even said anything horrible, but someone will say something they do, and he'll go, oh my God, like, he'll laugh because we think it's funny. Not because it's funny, silly, because he'll go, I've never even come across that before.
Because it's so alien to him.
You know what I mean? No. He's a very intelligent man, actually. He's great at darts, so his mental arithmetic is unbelievable. So like, but he doesn't know what he doesn't know. Do you know what I mean? He's not experienced people from different environments, and some people might take that in the wrong way and go like, well, you should know. And it's like, well, how's he going to know? No one's educated him on these things. But it's what's the delivery method for that? Because what I think is not the delivery method, because we've tested it enough, is sort of information being delivered in an almost accusatory superiority approach. Likely not conscious. But I would also empathise with, usually it's one person that's been put in that position in an organisation, in a green book role, and they've been told, hey, by the way, culture's your responsibility. And they've gone, wait, whoa, no, it's not.
I think you'll find it's everybody's.
I think you'll find it's everybody's, And they'll go, but you're our Messiah. Guide us.
Yeah.
So they'll have to go out and they're trying to help everyone with all of their million different variations of upbringing. And I'm going to try and sheep dip you all with this, and it can unconsciously come across very condescending.
But it also it feels preachy. Stop preaching to me. Stop telling me, because the last thing we want is being told how to think. Right? We like our autonomy. We love that we are all individuals within this bubble. But I think the easiest thing is, and you said yourself, he shows surprise. He doesn't show disdain. He doesn't show hatred. He doesn't show thing, right? And the best people to educate him are you. It's literally the people around him. And the difference is, if he was resisting that when you said to him, we don't use that word anymore. Do we not? No, and this is why. Oh, I didn't know. Oh, I'm really sorry. And then he doesn't use that word again. We fixed it. But if don't get me wrong, there may be individuals for whom they don't take that and they double down and they continue to do it. And that's a different conversation. Someone not knowing the newest phrase doesn't make them automatically a bad person. It just makes them someone open to education. If you can comfortably and gently in that arena put that sort of bat to bed, you've done it. And I think, it's that check your mates thing, isn't it? If someone says something and you go, whoa, mate, like, hang on. And they go, oh, did I step over the mark? And you go, you literally did the triple jump. And they go, oh, sorry. And like, we all do it. And it's not about knowing your audience, but it's kind of about tempering that watch, that audience, that team, that whatever, and embracing the difference of the opinion, if it's an opinion thing, or if it's just a moment of like, oh, this is a teachable moment. Oh, this is how this made me feel. Oh, I'm really sorry. And letting that sort of be the next thing. And I think we're actually really good at that. And I've sort of said a lot,
and it's allowing people the kindness to self recalibrate or explain their point. It's like if I have it with one of my team and I'm like, oh, like, dude, like, help me understand what you said there, because what I think I heard was A, B, C, X, Y, Z, but I feel like that's not what you were coming across with, because I wasn't really sure. And then just offer them that invitation to reiterate what they were saying in a slightly different manner, because they probably stepped on a cultural landmine that they didn't see.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And allow that self-calibration rather than coming straight in with an accusation, but also recognize that person's limitations in terms of their language as well. Because I've always said, like, your limitations of your language are the limitations of your world. You might only have one way to say it. And you'll know as an instructor, which I want to get onto at some point, is if you've only got one way to say it, you can only really teach, or you can only instruct a very small audience. You probably can't teach at all.
No.
Because a teacher will know 27 different ways of saying it.
Yes.
Because they'll be able to meet the person where they are.
But the thing for me, and it's really interesting, right, is that it's not just about the language, it's that same word we come back to, it's the intent, right? Yeah. So the irony for me is you talk about this guy on your station, on your watch, and you all nickname him Grandad, right? Someone somewhere could go, oh, that's ageist. You're being ageist, right? And I know that because I feature in my services report, right? Because I nicknamed and have for many, many years, one of my best mates, Gramps.
Okay.
Right?
That's a common one as well. Yeah. It's on quite a few stations.
No malice intended in any way, shape or form. My nickname's Bob, right? There's no malice. It's a Blackadder thing, right? So it's like, there's something Bob. About you, Bob, right? And it's stuck, right?
Rowan Atkinson,
right?
That guy.
Yes.
And you've got to go, he's not the Messiah. He's a very naughty boy.
Naughty boy, yeah. Right? But you just kind of go, where does this end? Like,
because people will love that. Like, that's the old sweat on the watch. There's another one at another station on ours that's called Gramps. Yeah. And it's a term of respect. People go to him for background, for cultural reference, for helping the generational hand-me-downs of the stories. And, well, why is that thing on the wall? Why do we put that piece of equipment there? And he'll go, come and sit with Gramps. Let me tell you, like, when we first opened this station, you know what I mean? And it's a term of endearment for him.
Yes.
He loves it. And he writes it on his locker. You know
what I mean? And it is that thing where you go, did someone else write that on their locker?
No, he wrote it on his locker. He's got it in special, put out, like, did it with a cricket.
Oh, fair play.
He's not done it with a trinograph.
Yeah.
He loves it. I think he's got a T-shirt with it on.
Yeah. But this is where it becomes difficult, because it's that we don't want to be told how to interact with each other. We just want support when that is taken to a place where it shouldn't be.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I think this is where it's become difficult, is that we got the sublime to the ridiculous is kind of how I would put it. And I think that's where, when I talk about sort of like the bits we can't lose, for me, that's one of the bits that we can't lose. And, you know, and it's that intent thing. So I work on the team that I work on, where we've been looking sort of around transformation. You know, you can have conversation, we can have debate. And one of my favorite ones to come back to is making the new start and make tea. Can't tell the new starter to go make tea. And I went, right, let me just take you to two different places. I'm going to be a watch manager and I'm going to be two different people, and I want you to tell me which one's right and which one's wrong. Oi, Sprog, what are you doing in here? Get in there and make everyone tea. No, that's not how we do it. But let me show you a different way. I'm once again me, and I'm a watch manager, and I've got my new starter, and I'm going to go, mate, you feeling a bit nervous, not really know what to do with yourself? Yeah, right. Do you drink tea and coffee yourself? No, not really. Do you know how to make tea and coffee? No, not really. Right. What we're going to do, I'm going to come with you. You're going to pop your head round into the mess room where everyone is, offer them all teas and coffees, find out what they want, kind of take their order, right? I'll come and meet you, and I know their tea order anyway, and we'll go through it, and I'll remind you of their names. Number one, right? The Gemma Collins, where she was on Big Brother, right? You know, tea and coffee's important. People love it. It means it's like giving them a grand, right?
Absolutely.
Right?
Yep.
But also, that new starter just learnt your name.
Yep.
They learnt something about you. They broke down a barrier. And now when they come in with their cup of squash or whatever they want to drink, because they don't drink tea and coffee, and that's cool, we can have a conversation about that, and we can start breaking down that feeling that you've got when you first walk onto a fire station.
And there's so many jump-off points for the follow-up conversation when they come in and go, yeah, I've got some friends that are like well into their coffee. Like I've personally never drank coffee, and like people like they do the grind and they do that. And there'll be at least 2 or 3 firefighters in that room. They go, come here, young un, right? What you got to do with a coffee? What a lot of people don't know. Here's the top 3 mistakes people don't know about making a bad coffee. Yeah. And all of a sudden you're in. You're in. It loosens the lips, because these are the people with the knowledge and experience that you want. You want it from them. You want them to come down to the truck and show you some stuff and help you with the thing. Yeah. The entry requirement for that, not the entry requirement, like you need to meet it, but like that's the way. It's like a hack.
Yes.
It's a culture hack. Yeah. Tap yourself into it. You're slipping in the back door. You're going, hey, mate, if I grab you a brew, can you show me this thing? Yeah, 100%, mate. Tell you what, 2 sugars or whatever. Do you know what I mean? That's the way you're going to get yourself into it. And also, even if you don't know how to do it, this is why I think we should still nominate people to cook on stations. So you go, what do you tend to make at home, mate? Like you say, the 2 versions of Becky again, where she's like, you're making tea on Wednesday. Just do it. As long as it makes a turd, I'm not bothered. Do you know what I mean? Versus, you're like,
that's good. There just needs to be loads of it.
You go, what do you like to cook at home? And they go to us, I can't really cook. Maybe they were bloody adopted from they were homeless or whatever. You know, they're not really know how to cook anything. I'll tell you what, pay up with so and so because he loves cooking. Yeah, and that person will go, oh, dramas, mate. What we're going to do is we're going to do this, because I'll tell you what. Becky loves this, and actually so-and-so, he likes his steak, but he likes it like this. So what we're going to do, you get this. People love to tell you how much they know about stuff. Massage is their ego. You go and be their sous chef. They will love to show you. I promise you.
But also, how many firefighters, and I can put my hand up, joined the fire service with incredibly limited ability to cook and suddenly learnt how to do it from, exactly as you said, watching and learning and listening and... You know, and that's where we grab parts of other people's culture, other people's stories, other people's whatever. Oh, I make a beef stafado because my missus is Greek and we go to, and this is her mother-in-law's recipe and she taught me this and now you've got it in your catalogue.
But
and
that's
this is,
where, again, we make cultural flips, because you're like, hey, you're covering at Western. Don't worry, the Mexican's on tonight. Yeah. Because he always makes great whatever. He makes great burritos. He makes great this. Yeah. Someone's not gone... Excuse me, you're Indian. Can we have a curry? You know what I mean? They've not done that. They've gone, hey, mate, what do you fancy cooking tonight? And they'll go, well, I'll tell you what, have you ever had a traditional bolognese? Because I'm Italian. And you go, no, I've not. You know, we've got an Italian lady that works on my watch. And she, if we're doing pasta, she's like, I will cook the pasta. We're not
touching my things.
Don't do that. Someone's like, they're throwing a bag of pasta into a dish with some stuff. She's like, stop. Please, this is sacrilege. Yeah. I will. And we love it. And then we all learn. Yeah. And then when she's not on, we're making it her way. Yeah. Yeah. That is cultural integration in my world. Yes. That's respectful. Yeah. Yeah. But if someone says, oh, you know, you guys have that, and we go, well, we got the Italian on the watch, haven't we? So we know how to do our pasta. Someone doesn't go, that's what you call her. Hey, behave yourself. Behave yourself. Clearly, you're missing it. You're taking this out of context. All right. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? But I want to segue in that to maybe zoom out to society again, because what we're trying to sustain there is the great elements, what you and I think in this echo chamber of the cultures within the fire service. And we look at society at large and we're trying to be, or we have an aspiration to be, or I think certainly in the UK, we are a multicultural society.
Yeah.
But I think we're getting our words wrong, because a multicultural society simply means multiple cultural differences that are coexisting within the same place, same nation, same community, different languages, different religions, customs, food, dress, family structures, whatever, which is fantastic because it raises all the ships. Yeah. But if I went to Germany, or I went to France, or I went to Tokyo, I would not disrespect or not align to their cultural values if they said, well, we don't do that here, Pete. What we do is this. Do you know what I mean? I should be accepting and respectful because I've chosen to go to Tokyo. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I might be starting to sound like a toxic Brit here, but I'm like, we should welcome everybody and give them space for this. But when you go to the extreme end of that spectrum, you end up accepting horrific things done to young girls where we're butchering parts of their body, or you end up with really weird stuff.
Yeah.
That you've become overly accepting of what you initially defined as a cultural difference, but the poison's in the dose. Do you know what I mean? Everyone's welcome and but we don't want to wash away all of the great elements of, to bring it back locally, to the fire service. Do you know what I mean? That's where we don't want to lose some of those things. If is that making sense? I feel like I fumbled my way through that. Does that make sense?
I kind of see where you're coming from, but I think it's a timeline thing. Right? So I live in South Wales, and you know, the South Wales valleys, whether people see it or not, is a complete melting pot, right? So industrialization, you go from farms and Methodist chapels, right? Welsh Baptist chapels, small communities, mines, ironworks, all the rest of it. People come from Eastern Europe because they've got mines there. It's the same, it's literally the same coal seam. They come here because the money's better or there's more opportunity, blah, blah, blah. Italians come here because they can sell ice cream and set up coffee shops and do all of those sorts of things. Loads of Irish people come here. So suddenly you have Catholic churches and the Italians go to the Catholic church and all of these things grow over time. But they're like fourth generation now, so people don't even blink, right? Because they have had that time to assimilate and to become part of, the wider community. And I think, at the moment, I think this concept that, we are shifting one way too far or the other. I mean, we shouldn't accept anything that brings pain or negativity or, those things to society. But equally, I think we can't expect people to instantly assimilate into something that they need to grow into. And I think that's, it comes down to...
And there's going to be growing pains.
Yes.
When someone joins the fire service, there will be growing pains because they're, we're maintaining the deep civic values, like we're happy, equality under law and freedom of speech and respect to the democratic process. Everyone's got individual rights and all that sort of stuff. But merit and competence still matter. A good multicultural fire service works perfectly for me if operational competence still matters. Chain of command matters at incidents. Equality within the team matters. But standards aren't negotiable. Safety overrides your ego. It just does. It has to. It's not a conversation. When we step out the door and we get into this, we're out on the road at a live incident, moving traffic. I need to create a bubble of safety. And in order for that to exist, assuming I'm competent, you need to do what I ask you to do, unless you can give me a piece of evidence that would help pivot my strategy because of an unknown factor that's dangerous to you in what I'm asking you to do. But beyond that, it shouldn't be too much of a negotiation. You need to do what I'm telling you to do so that we are safe and effective. And that pendulum can blur at times. And I think that's sometimes where you see the biggest frustrations. And that's when people, if they don't have the language, if they don't have the ability to communicate what they're trying to get across to that person in that chaotic moment, that's when the slips happen, when the frustrations come through and people say things they don't mean. Yeah.
And I think it's back to that leadership, followership dynamic and the respect within that. You need that level of followership where not that there is, complete, everything you tell me I will do, but that there's respect for in that moment. I'm going to listen and I'm going to forgive you to an extent of, you know, a slip of language or a slip of, you know, demeanour. But then equally, there needs to be that thing within leadership where if you do say to someone, do this, and they kind of look at you, to come back to that afterwards and to give an explanation. So I've got a really good example, right? A really, really good mate of mine. It was the most like ridiculous, teeny tiny little bonfire in the middle of a park at like 1 a.m, right? I can't say for definite, but I'm pretty sure it was probably lit by homeless people just trying to keep warm, probably cook some food, all that sort of stuff, right? So we're there and, you know, it is the typical, you know, bucket of water and it's out. He takes off his lid, chucks it under his arm, we start walking away. Mate, pop your lid back on for me. And he looks at me as if to go, are we seriously having a conversation about standards of dress? Like, I'm like, mate, just pop your lid back on for me. And we get out and we're by the gate and I went, right, drop your lid. And he just looks at me and goes, what's that about? And I'm like, did you consider that as we turned and started walking away, that they could have come back, been pretty miffed that we've put their fire out, picked up one of the bricks that they had and just lobbed it at us? Mate, I wasn't being that person. Just pop your lid on. I don't want to say it right now because I don't want them to hear me because they might also go, I'm not that person, and be really hurt.
You're making an accusation of me that provokes me. Yeah.
Exactly. And I just want to get us away from this place, but I'm just trying to make us as safe as possible because we're in a park at 1 a.m. in the dark and I don't know who lit that or their reasoning and why they brought us here. Just keep your lid on. And he went, oh yeah, noted. A, he's learned something. B, he's gone, oh, she wasn't just being like, excuse me, don't relax your dress until I say you can. And I think we don't have those conversations. You said yourself, you know, earlier on, it's all about the comms. It's all about that communication.
And that's it. If we don't give people the tools for that, we make an assumption, a quite harsh assumption of people's knowledge, awareness, academic performance prior to come into the organisation that we work in, which is almost a complete hypocrisy when we go, we want people that are all different. Great. Fantastic. So then we need to teach them some shared language. Yeah. Because their language is going to be different because that's what we optimized for. Well,
it's really interesting. So my chief fire officer is relatively new to service and he's come not from the fire service. And one of his first observations, and I remember him mentioning to me, was like, you speak your own language. And we do speak our own language on the run, on shift, go into a shout, right? I can't explain this, but why is there a difference between a shout and a call? Why is there a difference? Right? There just is. And we kind of measure it in like how decent it was when we got there, which is ironic because our level of decent is like someone else's really bad day. But we even categorize down to that, right? You can point and go, what's that? And we'll go, that's the fire engine. To which a member of the public will go, well, why do you lot never call them that? And you go, oh, yeah. Yeah, no, we don't. Right? If a member of the public said fire truck, we'd go, oh, we don't call them fire trucks. Yet in 40-second time, we'll go, oh, yeah, I was out on the truck. And they'll go,
yeah.
You said you didn't call them fire trucks. And you're like, I was
trying to go, is it a plural for a second? Like,
it's not.
Is it, we have a shout, did you have any calls last night? But then if you're downstairs and you might shout over the phone and go, fire call. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. But you might also still shout, we've got a shout. Do you know what I mean? I don't know. You've hit me there.
but these are the things, right? And it's like, it's weird, isn't it? Right? Because my little ADHD
but you wouldn't say, well, have you had any shouts last night?
No, you just wouldn't.
You'd say, do you have any calls?
Yeah. Why are we the way that we are?
I don't know. I don't think you'd use shouts in a multiple. I don't know. I don't know. You've proper done me there. But you're right. We have our own language.
But that's the thing. We know straight away we have our own language that we have to sort of bring people into. And then it goes that bit above and beyond again. I think that one of the funniest things about the fire service, right? And it's one of my favourite things to because since it sort of clicked in my head, I now can't not see it, right? We do it within the FBU. We do it within our own services, right?
Yeah.
Well, what are the union doing about it? The service should have known. The service... Who are the floaty, omnipotent beings carrying all this knowledge that you think that they have, right? I've just been through... so we're doing like an annual awards, right? And we've changed the way that we've done it. And, you know, people had to write citations and stuff, right?
Good.
And I'm there like reading through some of these citations going... I know the story here. You've given me like this much. Yeah. I'm going to email you back and go, I want you to write this like the person reading it knows nothing about the fire service, please. Because the judges that are going to be sitting and reading this, yes, they're in the fire service, yes, they know, but they don't know Blue Watch there.
No.
They don't know you to go, I have the full understanding and knowledge of everything within this, because I think there is this thing, right? We have this group think. We think that there's like connection. You know, they say about tree roots, and tree roots like talk to each other, and they go, the nutrients is really good over here. I think the fire service thinks that we are able to go station to station, unitary authority, headquarters to control, and that we all like know. And it's like, I have some news for you. We don't. And even down to, operational understanding, knowledge, experience, we kind of go, we're all in the same place. Oh, we're all crew managers. We all know the same thing. No. See, I'm a crew manager, and I've been a crew manager for 26 years. And I literally walked in and went, all right, yeah, pass my level 1, yeah. Yeah. I did that tick box thing, and, tidy. Right, bit of tape on the helmet, I'm off. Landed.
Yeah.
Someone else has been a crew manager for 18 months, and they're like, we've done a pathway, and we've done all of your sort of soft skill learning, and we've, told you where you are with that. We've given you development stuff to get better at that. We've done your level 1. We know that because of the length of service and stuff, you might not have as much operational experience. So we've made up for that, and we've molded you, right? And then we put 2 of you next to each other and go, they are exactly the same. And it's like, no. I hate to break it to you. No, they're not, because they haven't had that same lived experience, shared experience, training and stuff.
The biggest surprise is from people from the military, because the branches of the military treat leadership so seriously.
Yes.
Like, there's a historical references to it. They have to study for it, because this is the thing. Like, if you were going to be a hazmat officer, you'd have to study hazmat, go on a course, really have to wrestle your head around some physics that you've not done in a long time, and some biology and some chemistry. And very few people actually study leadership, and especially leadership in their own context, or what it means to them, because it's an uncomfortable. I think that maybe this is it, is because it is a personal reflection. It's not a tick box. It's not I haven't got a pair of gloves, Becky. We'll get you a pair of gloves. Bang. Easy to fix. You haven't got a special hat. We'll get you a special hat. This is, well, how do you talk to people? Like, what is command presence to you? How do you people, because I'm 6'5", 18, 19 stone, whatever I am. I have had to adapt different skill sets, different chameleon bits consciously, because of the unconscious way that I come across to people. Yeah. I'm a big, bold, military-looking dude that seems a bit intense, seems to frown a lot. He's got a lot of lines on his forehead. Oh, God, he looks a bit scary. Do you know what I mean? You have to appreciate that. You can't just go, oh, well, that's who I am. And if people don't, behave yourself. Behave yourself. That's not going to work. Okay?
No.
You need to be a chameleon.
Yeah.
It's like, treat everybody fairly, but don't treat them all the same.
No.
Same as when we talk about personal development for our commanders and for our leaders.
Yeah. And,
Quick pause, because I want to tell you about a new partnership we have with First Tactical. First Tactical builds equipment for people who work when environments are seriously unforgiving. And if you go to their website, you'll find kit is designed specifically for us, for firefighters, for police officers, technical rescue teams, fire investigation, hazmat, hazardous materials teams, urban search and rescue. This is honestly the equipment that you really want to rely on. It's built for real operations, real pressure, long ass days, and I genuinely use this stuff. Here's a few of my favorites. They've got their men's Defender short sleeve. I've got that in black. It's got a huge load of specialized pockets, space for all of our gears, the pads, the pens, all of the stuff. It's got on the sleeves on both sides. Also got the Defender pants. These have got 28 pockets in total on them. It's mad. Let's be honest, we absolutely love the bags. I use their 25-litre specialist half-day backpack. The shoulder straps as well are strong AF. Like I say, this isn't lifestyle gear. It's built for real world, real operations. We talk about the realities of the job, and First Tactical is just the ideal partnership for us. So go take a look, firsttactical.co.uk. Now back to the show.
You say, if I went to a watch now and said, like, how effective is your communication? They go, oh, buzzwords. You're talking to me in buzzwords. Oh, whatever. And they just switch off, right? And if you go, if we change that completely and said, if I asked you to go into a school talk in the morning, and then in the afternoon I asked you to go and do a talk to like a bunch of professionals, would you give them the same talk? No. Then you are effective communicators. Well done. you've worked out what that means. Because, you know, we know that we do it, but it's so unconscious that we just can't, right? And I think it's why firefighters struggle with the idea of personal leadership, and why I think we then struggle when we're going for those ranks and stuff like that. We're absolutely horrendous about talking about ourselves, right? We're all humble to the core of just like being like, oh, it's a team effort, oh, it's just my job, it's right. There's all of that stuff, but just away from
even
that,
worse so in the UK than other countries I've found.
Hugely. Oh yeah. I mean, yeah, we're not hoo-ha, you know, we're not that American sort of. But then I think even, you know, but then I know American firefighters. I've been very, very lucky to have met firefighters from all over the world, and they ain't all like that. That's a perception. You know, it's very much, you know. And I think we do this thing, and it's that same thing we do it. You know, Americans, they just get up on the roof and they cut the roof off. And,
stupid.
But also, no, they don't. Every single department has different procedures based on their built environment. That just happens to work for them, and you're grouping us all into this thing. Don't do that. You know. Sorry, we've gone off topic. That's not
no,
what
we haven't, because we do it as a survival
Yeah.
mechanism, because we need to put someone in a box.
Yes.
We need to know, where do you live in my world? Oh, you're one of them. So I need to label you. But I don't label anybody. You do.
Yeah.
My daughter walking down the street with my dog at night, she has to judge a person by the way they look. Oh, but you shouldn't do that. But she's going to. People see me walking down the road at dusk wearing a hoodie walking with my big German Shepherd. They'll go, yeah, maybe cross the road. Yeah. This guy might be lovely, or he might be a serial killer. And that's the dog that eats his victims. Do you know what I mean? But it's not worth the risk. What's the no. It's not worth it. It's not worth it. So we do all judge people by the interpretations that we have of them, and, you know, to circle back to our perception of different organizations, but also in different nations. But it's part of the limitations of your world, because you, me, different travels, put yourself around there, gone to different services, and people go, oh, look at you. Well, it's usually because you've put yourself in that position. No one did you a favor. Like, you had to put yourself out there willing to look like a dick, and often did look like a dick because you didn't know. Yeah. But the more someone said it to me years ago now, and I probably say it too much, but like, the more your island of knowledge grows, the more you're sure of ignorance, the more you realize you don't know. The more you learn, the more you realize you don't know. But if you've sat in your beautifully comfortable ignorance, same service, same station, same watch maybe for the same 25 years, you're like, well, you've got a very small reference map of what is, and that's why we do, to go back to your point of like, well, so-and-so's crew manager from wherever, so-and-so's an LF, you know, so-and-so's this, lieutenant from Brazil, same as me. Absolutely not.
But I'm going to say this on a completely different flip. Ironically, sometimes we are. Like, there are moments where you just go, ooh, how are we all so different and yet all still all the same? And that's the bit, isn't it? And it's pulling out those bits where you go, where we talk about the culture we protect, the culture we keep, right? My service, I can assure you that somewhere between 10 and 11, there will be tea and toast. If you go a little bit further up the road, they're like, oh no, we have beans and egg on. Oh no, we have this, we have that, right? Yeah. But there's that group thing again of just going, but we all do that. Yep. Do we all still do scrub out on a Saturday?
Yep.
Yeah. Why do we do? Well, it just makes sense. And then you might have a full cooked breakfast, because that's, again, like, why do we all do that? Because we follow patterns, and you just go, well, that's fascinating. Do you know what I mean? And like, you know, I've been very lucky through things like the UKRO and through high-rise firefighting and stuff, you know, to meet firefighters from all over the place. And there are those moments where you go, we are all so very different individuals within self, and yet there is something. What is that? And it's really interesting, because my chief said to me, go away and find out what that is. And I'm like, You've literally just asked me to describe sunlight. How do I describe what that thing is? I can't. And, you know, we're sort of exploring that at the moment. Yeah. But you just go, I don't know.
You've seen the old one thing where the old fish swims past the two young fish, and he goes, hey, fellas, how's the water? And they both look at each other and they're like,
what? We're in water?
Because it is that. The culture is it is us and we are it. Yeah. Someone says, hey, you know, and you go, I wouldn't even know how to describe it to you. To be honest, it's just the way things are kind of done about here. I wanted to flip this frame because we've touched into it and referenced it a few times. You've done a lot of traveling and work in and around fire behaviour. You've spoken about some high-rise tactics. I think we first connected through shared friend Gerard Mann, Australia, which is ironic. We're not a million miles away from each other, and we connected through someone on the other side of the world, which is an irony to that. You, from Gerard's words, I've never been lucky enough to spend time with you on a training session or anything like that. He speaks very, very highly of you because I messaged him a few times before we came on here, and he was like, Beci he's a lovely sausage, bless him. He got nicknamed Little Bear when we were out in Australia, by the way, because there was a few photos taken with the two of us, and I think one of the Tokyo firefighters,
just suddenly,
he was like, we call you Little Bear, and it was, that's stuck now. Anyway, he's coming over soon. He's because he got married recently, didn't he? So he's we're going to spend some time together in London. I'm going to book a show and a restaurant for us. But what have you learned from what good looks like? Because we mentioned about, I forget our context earlier, but we were talking about like a good team or a good culture, or what does success look like? What's the metric? What have you learned about what good tactical firefighting looks like? Because you referenced the Americans and the way they do it, the way we do things differently in the UK. Is it limited time in the compartment for firefighters? Is it speed of attack? Is it weight of water? Is it they all go out eventually? Is the fire going out enough of a metric of success? Because this is the irony in the hyper focusing on culture and customs and values in the service and core codes of ethics. We don't ever want to take our eyes off the thing we're supposed to be really good at. Do you know what I mean? What has your professional development looked like in that space? What did you see the first time you went into those organizations and saw things done differently from how you were trained?
It's really interesting because it's one of those things that has evolved. I joined the service, as we said, sort of mid-2000s. The world was still reeling from the Blaenau fire, the fire service world. We were still very, very much focused on flashover backdraft, and understanding them, because I think up until that point, they came as a bit of a surprise. That wasn't for any other reason other than, fire events were becoming more common because, again, built environments were changing, furnishings was changing, all that sort of stuff. We knew that. I think the biggest thing for me is that a lot of my, to put in inverted commas, firefighter tactics, knowledge and understanding didn't come from a training school perspective. It didn't come from, being...
And that's not an accusation that the instructors didn't know what they were talking about.
No, absolutely. But I think what training school can always do is it's like driving a car. You will go and have a driving lesson, and you'll pass a driving test. You will pass your initial BA, and yes, you can go and get in a car and you can drive that car. In 10 years, you won't drive the car like you did on your test. No. You will be a different driver. That's firefighting, right?
And if you just drove the way you drove in your driving test, in certain environments, you might actually be unsafe on the roads.
Exactly. Well,
and you'd the way you do or don't react to the environment
sort of
around you.
Driving this terrifying, terrified. You might never go on a motorway.
Yeah.
It's just, you shift and adapt to what's around you. And beyond that, again, you might, to stay on the same analogy, you might learn to drive a lorry, or you might learn to drive different vehicles, and that will adapt your way of going back and driving that car. That's been firefighting for me. And I think we had so much, and I say we because we're both of that same moment in time. We were the tail end of lots and lots and lots of experiential learning.
Yep.
So you learnt your trade by someone grabbing you, taking you under their wing, going, what's that? Look at that. What does this tell you? What's this? Right? We talk about sizing up buildings now, right? And you go, I have never stopped and gone, this is a 2-story stone-built building, which I just do it because it's automatic. My brain looks and
unconscious competence,
exactly. And I think, we talked a lot earlier on about, competence and standards. They're very difficult to measure. How do you measure where that is, and, and how important is learning and education and understanding next to experience.
Mm-hmm.
Where do we meet this middle ground? And,
But also, what was your experience?
Oh, you mean sort of like personally?
No.
Sorry,
but I just mean for that person. Yeah, it's like you could have had many bad experiences of doing it wrong, and they still went out.
Yeah,
because they do.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And also, if it's something you've learned through experiential and absorption, how do you now contextualize that in the absence of actual real experience? How do you do that through simulation?
Yeah.
Because it's back to that 2 firefighters or 2 crew managers, both in 20 years, they must have the same this.
Yeah.
We have, watch commanders in my organization have never worn in a structural fire operationally. Yeah. Now, you can't decry them for that because this is what it is. Different stations, different placements, different whatevers.
Yeah.
But how do we then unpick the things that you and I may perhaps have just absorbed? And also, we add in a very random layer, which would be hard to duplicate, of various pieces of international travel, instructor qualifications, whoopsies done in safe environments, that is probably very expensive and hard to duplicate.
Yeah.
But then when you do talk about a size up to people now, whether you're doing a BSAF model or you break it down into a more of a UK context and just try to talk about ventilation profiles or windwards, whatever it is, it's like you're starting at 7. It's like when you come to a recruit and if you talk to them about pumping on their first courses and go, right, we're going to talk about centrifugal forces, or we're going to talk about the problems with physics and lifting water. And you've started at 6 or 13, and they go, whoa. Or they might not go, whoa, because they daren't look silly.
Yeah.
But you really need to go, water is wet.
Yeah.
Let's start where we all are.
Yeah.
And move forward from there. Do you know what I mean? Yeah.
So I'm just going to pick up on like one of the words you used there, which was ventilation, right? It's one of my favorite ones. So when I'm teaching high rise, and we talk about ventilation, the complexity within a high-rise structure and all of the different, you'll cook your head, right? Yeah. And I will turn around to firefighters, and it was brilliant when I was up at the college. I was really, really, really lucky, really blessed to be invited up for women in the fire service to teach some high-rise. And what's brilliant about that is that you then end up with, non-ops and ops people all in the same space. And you start talking about ventilation, right? And my first question when we get to it is I will always say to people, what is ventilation? And if you say that to firefighters, they go, well, we got PPV fans and they'll have like extraction, and they start instantly making it sciencey and they start making it instantly really, really complicated. And I go, right, everybody stop. And then, in the circumstance where you do have non-ops, you go like, what's ventilation to you? And they go, is it just air moving? Ding, 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 ding. It's just air moving. If you make this way more complicated than you need to, you're going to wrap yourself up in massive complexities here.
And also you'll lose more people in gaps because you're jumping from tower to tower of complex topic. You're leaping and going, oh, right, bidirectional flow path. And then you go in positive pressure attack and you're jumping from, blowtorch effect. And people are like, what the And you'll lose so many people in the gaps if you don't
but like you said,
a small, slow, logical thread.
You're going to be starting at 7 because you've already assumed that they get that it's air moving. And if you go right the way back to ventilation is air moving, if it's clean air moving, good. We are doing well. That's a good day for firefighters because people can breathe and are not going to die. And we aren't going to get caught up in a backdraft or a flashover. Excellent. Brilliant. Carry on, number 1. If you're talking about smoke, whether that is laminar or whether that is, really, the nasty stuff, it's still just air moving. Tactical ventilation is you making a decision where you want that air to go. Just stay with me there.
Yeah.
If we build from here up, when I then tell you that you opening that door is a tactical ventilation decision, you get it. Because I've told you that you've made a decision to move the air.
Yeah.
if you don't start there, everything that comes, it's a bit like Charles Dickens. The Marleys were dead to begin with.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I recognise that the quote I just used was the Muppets version because I said the two Marleys, right?
Yeah.
But if you don't start there, nothing else is going to make sense in this whole story.
Yes.
So,
great example.
Thank you. So I just think, I literally just turned into the Great Gonzo, but it's fine.
Mic drop Rain Man moment.
But it's the same with absolutely everything, right? We talk about, what's your water strategy? What's, and I am going to use the term, and it's not the best term, right? But you can only piss with the dick you got.
Yeah.
All right? So if you turn up and there is no hydrant and you've got one tank and you have committed a crew to effect a rescue on a hose reel, but you're not going to put the fire out, right? Did you effect the rescue? Yes. Is the person dead? No. Has the fire gone out? No, I didn't have enough water. I was waiting on X, Y, Z to be put in place, but I made a tactical decision to do this in that moment, right? Because I think sometimes...
Was it a conscious decision? That's where people can
fall
make
down.
Errors, sometimes fatal errors.
Yes.
Because it's not that you did the wrong thing. It's that did you consciously do the wrong thing and understand the limitations of what you were doing when you did it?
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? And ergo knew where the line was when you said, right, this is a plan until. Do you know what I mean? This is the direction of travel up until, right, survival, we've made rescue, and then we're going to withdraw. But we've already accepted we're not going to put the fire out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that's not going to be a surprise and or a failure with the limited resources that we've got. Yeah. But you can't just walk into it with the utopian desire to be able to achieve all these things. I'm going to control the ventilation profile. I'm going to save all the casualties, and I'm going to put the fire out, and I'm going to limit it to the compartment of origin. Yeah. Which one are we optimizing for? Which ones? You tell me which one you're doing, because they're all right.
Yeah. Yes.
But they're all not possible.
Yeah. I can't give you, and I think the problem is at the moment we tend to have this thing where we're almost firefighting by numbers.
Oh, definitely.
We're using mnemonics, and we're going, you do this, and then you do this, and then you do that. And it's like, no, it's too complex, it's too varied, and it's far, far, far too dynamic to go bump, 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 bump. Yeah. And I think the difficulty is...
And also we have a tremendous cognitive capacity. So like Carol Lambert, I think probably the first time I heard him speak many years ago, he's got a great opening line where he says, this is only one of his presentations, but he's like, no matter how romantic we want to be, firefighting is just chemistry and physics, which it is. But the problem is, you've just mentioned two absolute titanic academic fields of study, which none of us have the cognitive capacity to process in that small window of time with our limited monkey brains.
Yeah.
So we're going to have to unconsciously develop trends, knock off solutions, reframe what success looks like. And there will be an amount of intuitive, prime recognition decision-making happening in that moment. And it's guiding that thought process with as much consciousness as possible, because you're not going to be able to, and I found this most interesting with direct entry, when you speak to people coming in at level 2, and their desire, really admirable desire, to really make the right decision out of what will always be a moving target, and the kind of green light is going to be at about 65-70% accuracy and confidence in certainty that this is the correct decision, because there's the massive what if that'll always exist in any operational incident.
And I just think, it gets said all the time, doesn't it? But I think the optimum is a thinking firefighter. Just a firefighter that is able to, once they've gone beyond that entry point, I don't know what you're doing anymore.
You're the new incident commander.
Yeah,
you take your pants off and run around if you like. I'm not going to know the difference.
Please don't.
Ideally, don't. But I won't know if you did.
Yeah, exactly. And but beyond that, that is a two-way thing, because just as much as I need you to make decisions for yourself, I also need you to communicate with me and describe to me really effectively what you can see, what you feel, what is happening for you, so that I can make safe decisions for you too. And I think, where, through no fault of absolutely anybody, lack of experience of the combustible environment is to learn what looks right and feels right and isn't right is becoming more and more narrowed. And, there are huge swings here. There's huge elements here. How many times do we want to expose firefighters to carbonaceous burns for their health, right? Beyond that, do we want to protect the environment? Absolutely, we want to protect the environment. We want to do all these things because, and it's the same as the culture stuff. We want to be these things because it is the right thing. Yes, we do. But what's the kickback? What's the other
when?
bit?
How quickly? And do you know what I mean? Because that again, there's no solutions, only trade-offs. And you can't split test life. If we'd have heavily invested in it this time ago, would we be much further along? Yeah, and we'd be much further behind with that. And that's where I feel like, because of the reports, we've over-indexed at times on an optimization of adopting wider cultural changes into the fire service that we've seen in traditional businesses and gone, well, if Lloyd's Bank aren't having any reports of racism and we're having lots, then, oh my God, this is a massive problem. And it is a massive problem. And we can work on both things simultaneously. But which one do we want to continue optimize before, and which one are we unconsciously sacrificing to achieve this other one?
But what over and above, and I think the really, really big thing here is that you say pouring from an empty cup. The people that you want to do these things are trying to do both things at once.
Yeah.
And it's too much.
And if you're not careful, the poison's in the dose, because they get change fatigue and then they just get lethargy and despondency. Yeah. And then you create a timid firefighter.
Well, it's not
and a timid commander.
Yeah, it's not even just change exhaustion. It's just training exhaustion. It's like, so you gave me fire dynamics training the other day, and now I'm having training on behaviours, and now I'm having, and then it's high rise, and we've had to change this, and suddenly I am whelmed. I am neither over nor underwhelmed. I'm just whelmed in the middle going, I don't know what you want.
Yeah.
Right? And leaders are getting burnt out because they are staying up till 10, 11 o'clock at night with their laptop open, trying to fix the world. And firefighters on the other end are burnt out because they're just going, I don't know who you want me to be. I don't know what you want from me today. And I don't know how to be everything.
I don't know how to be everything.
Right now.
Yeah.
And it's, you can have strategies and you can have prioritization, but how do you melt that into the real world? And when there's physical and safety risks in the sense of your practical training, and there's emotional and still just as much risk of the physical and the life stuff with the emotional and the cultural stuff. For me, the irony is you almost need to harmonize that into a pocket, because the truth of it is that, there are things you need to understand to ensure that we're keeping up with our cultural change. But can that be taught in an operational way?
Is it a time horizon challenge more than anything? 'Cause I think we're often too impatient to be emotionally intelligent, because we know culture takes time to change. 5, 10 years, 15 years. Yeah, it takes a long time. But we are hurried along by external pressures. And I think our position at times is less important than our direction. I think we are moving directionally in a very great direction. And we've made tremendous progress. But our impatience, that's reinforced by urgency from external factors like inspectorates and things like that, which are often historical references, force us to move at a speed that sacrifices emotional intelligence and actually people's sense of togetherness and like accepted, I'm part of this change, or is change happening to me?
Yeah. And, it's part of the challenge, isn't it? How do we ensure that people feel that they are decision makers for themselves? How do we make them feel that they have had an input into where we're going?
Otherwise, it's a complete lack of autonomy. You think you have no agency. I'm not even. I'm like kind of being invited to share my opinion in a slightly parent-child fashion. Like if I say to my daughter, "Would you like to put your shoes on first or your coat on first?" I've already told you we're leaving, and we're leaving in 4 minutes. Yeah. And it's like, how much of my autonomy or agency do I feel I'm being invited to bring to this table?
Well, it's really interesting, right? Because like when we talk about firefighting, right, we all have like, maybe not all, some of us are big nerds, right? But we all have people that we look to. We all have books that we read. We all have, right? We can name the people that you go, they know, they have all of them. We should listen to, do it the way they said.
God.
Yeah. And, my personal fire god, bless him, his book, if you read it, is just like, at the end of it is like, in this situation, this is good. Might not be for this one though. And it's like, because you can't go, do it like this, always like,
always like this.
I find myself just rolling my eyes because I'm like, I don't want to listen to an argument between 38 and 45 and 52. I don't care. Just put wet stuff on. Put wet stuff on hot stuff effectively. Just,
and don't make good the enemy of perfect.
Yes. There are certain inescapable facts. The quicker you can get to the scenes of operations and put water on a fire, the better. You are 6'5". I am 5'4". My hands are tiny. I wear extra small gloves, right? Can I get a 38 to operations quicker than a 52? Probably. That doesn't mean I'm not a good firefighter. I've just got little hands. And I'm just, and it's a bit of sort of learned experience and stuff, but it's also techers. And the fact that I've gone, right, I've tried a Denver roll, I've tried a this, I've tried a that, I've tried, thinking of a high-rise perspective, I've put the hose down the stairs, I've put hose up a corridor. I like a Cleveland roll, right? And the irony for me is if I look back in time to 19 years ago when I was a baby firefighter being taught how to use a 45 in a fire. Chris Reesfield, who's a fantastic instructor, and he still hangs around the training school now. I'm stood in the complex, in the BA complex, and he has taught me to coil 45 and then flip the coil over. It was a Cleveland.
Yeah, basically. We just didn't have the words for it.
We didn't have the words for it, but these are not new.
It is beyond a privilege to be able to bring the Firefighters podcast to you, and we are so grateful for every single person that supports, listens, shares, and follows our journey. But here's the honest truth. It takes a colossal amount of time and work to keep the podcast going. And to help us keep doing it, create more, reach more guests internationally, and make the podcast sustainable, we're asking for you to help. And to do this, we've set up a Patreon page. Now, if you've ever wanted to meet a member of the podcast, buy us a beer, buy us a coffee, and you think anything you've ever listened to on the podcast has been worth £3, that's basically what we're asking you for. By joining our Patreon community, you will get access to every single full episode archive we have ever made. Now, hundreds and hundreds of key documents that we've got in there on fire behaviour, firefighter health, cancer risks, instant debriefs, and so much more. So if you feel like you want to join the Patreon crew and help us make this possible, head to patreon.com/TFFPC or check the link in any episode podcast notes.
And I think the biggest thing that we do, whether we're talking about culture, whether we're talking about the tactics of firefighting, all of these things have been done before. And they will come round and probably be done again.
I always say we need to remember more than we need to learn. And sometimes history doesn't repeat itself, but it definitely rhymes.
Absolutely
definitely rhymes.
We went away from just hanging up bits of traffic tape and going, open the door. Traffic tape moves. Close the door. It doesn't move. We went, and then we came all the way back and we went, that's probably a good visual. And it's like, we know that everyone needs different levels, and that's
Yeah.
cool.
Mm-hmm.
But so long as we all start, you turn on the Nintendo and go level 1. You don't like turn it on and go level 56 and you go,
you're right. I'm a 56er. Yeah.
I don't know. Right.
Yeah.
And I think that's sometimes where we're going so wrong. And I think, and this is
there an element there that we don't spend as much time? I want to have more teachers on the podcast, because my sister's a deputy head in a primary school and my missus is a secondary school teacher. And they ask, when I have conversations with them from when I was in training school, we're ultimately in adult education, but we do very little study of teaching. Certain services will do a level, do a petals, or they'll do a level 3 or whatever it is. But like, we don't. My missus, her degree was in pedagogy, about the art of teaching and learning and all that sort of jazz. And I'm probably bastardized. I'm probably getting that wrong. But effectively, it's, how do people learn and how do we nurture their learning? We don't spend a lot of time doing that, I don't think. That's why we do have instructors. Yeah. We genuinely have instructors. We don't have teachers, really.
Well, but I think there's an interesting thing here, and this, it's just my opinion, and it's things that I sort of look at. But I just think within a training school perspective, absolutely improving that. And we do that, as a service, we do that, and we have that as part of, the profile to be within that area. But I think, it's a
is
bit
that
like...
a privilege of your size, though?
Oh, yeah, almost, yeah, probably.
Or is it a privilege of your prioritising it? Because anybody can do it, but it's just you might do it on a smaller scale.
Is a financial priority. We have the finance there to do it. Could that be something that could ever wait?
Everybody has the finance. It's where are you spending it?
Yeah.
That's ultimately it. You might say, we've got no money in training school. And you go, yeah, but you've got nicer trucks.
Yeah.
And it's not that you're going to change it today.
No.
But again, back to the direction. Do you have an intent and direction over the next 10 years to move more towards that?
But I just think, like, when we talk about teaching, it's a really interesting one for me, right? Because it's a bit like leadership, right?
Definitely.
Everyone knows, right? I could go today on a school visit and see some 6-year-olds and go, natural leader, right? Because you can identify, right? We know that they're there. We know in the fire service that you've been a training instructor, I've been a training instructor. You hit about week 2 and you go, leader.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's there, right? That's the same with teaching. Some people are naturals at, right? They just are. And I think absolutely have training courses for it, but also we just need to recognise where those people are and go, you're good at that. Off you go. And I think, and I'm speaking, again,
that's the mistake we made in a lot of services where we're like, only crew managers can become instructors.
You got that
wrong.
You've got that so
no.
I'm very proud.
I know what your intention was, because you went, well, a crew manager's experienced. Yeah. And you went, we want experienced people making, and I get your logic thread. I get where you're going.
I don't think it was even just that. I think it was also just like, you can't tell someone what to do unless you've got something on your shoulders. Old school thinking.
And it's a role map thing as well. It's not in your role map as a firefighter.
Exactly. Well, but I think like the key teachers across the service are your watch manager, crew manager. They are your key teachers, right? Whether we want to properly, like, don't get me wrong, those
as in the ones that are usually doing it.
So no. What I mean, not from a training school perspective. Now, I do apologise. I mean, like, from a service perspective, they are, for me, they are your sort of head of year and your teacher, right? If we want to sort of like think of it from a school, right? And then if you think of your station commander as like the headmaster. Or no, I shouldn't say head teacher. Sorry, very annoying me, right? But like, if you think of like a watch perspective, you're the one doing the learning and the teaching. You're the one evaluating whether or not that person knows that. You're the one who sees them day in, day out. You're the one debriefing them post-incident to see how well that was done, and you say about like doing 360 assessments. Are we genuinely assessing people in not just their knowledge and understanding operationally, but their ability to explain that and ensure that it's there in their people? We're not.
I don't think we have the emotional maturity for it. No,
but we need to get there. And I think for a lot of the changes and stuff that we're trying to do.
It's a personal accusation, though, isn't it, Becky?
Well, I don't think it's a personal accusation. I think it's just it's about not going back and going, you lot are not very good at this. It's about going, we've recognized some gaps and we want to give you this, and this to make this easier for you. And they go, oh my God, that's amazing. Thank you. Because it's how you advertise it, isn't it? It's how you put it across to the people who are coming in, you know, and it's like,
it's if you've got a follow up for it. It's if you say, I see this, so here you go, that. You know, I mean, whether it's a coach, whether it's sending people on a teacher thing, whether it's sending people, I've never seen this, but I know I'm speaking from my own bias, but like, send someone into a school for like work experience, I don't know, and they spend 2 days in primary, 2 days in secondary, and 2 days at university, and just see a variety of people and ask them to write a report on it, and then your coach from within your service talks to them about, here's academically what we recognise as some teaching skills. Which ones did you see whilst you were there? Which ones did you identify with? Which ones did you see, that's not me, but actually I could do with a dose of that?
Yeah,
do you know what I mean? And I'm just literally just making shit up on the fly. But I'm like,
but also, just where do you
you've got
feel
to be able to
comfortable?
see what good looks like, or at least even that version of good. Because equally, if I watched you instruct, I go, Becky's a great instructor. I can't do Becky, but I don't need to.
Just be you.
But I go, oh, she's got a bit of blackcurrant or orange or lemon. She's got a bit of this in her cocktail of teaching. I could do with a bit of that. Actually, that would or wouldn't work for me, because that's what we do. We don't learn, we absorb, don't we? And we need to see those elements within other people, and then take that dose, because we're all just a cocktail of the people we've seen.
Yeah. Whether it's developing your teaching style, developing your communication style, developing your leadership style, we do that. And we all can right now go, I took bits of my leadership from that person. I took bits of my teaching from that person. I took bits of my communication from that person. And I actively avoided anything that person did. But in this, you know, because we all know those people who, like, I could look at and go, operationally, I'm going to rob your brain of everything you've got. But communication-wise and leadership, you're not going to be how I want to base myself. That doesn't mean that I'm better, and but it's that constant pursuit of excellence. It's the pursuit of excellence that I think services get wrong, and it's the.
Do you even think they have it?
Yeah, I think it's there. Yeah, I think it's there, but I think where we get it wrong, and for me, it's it's that nature of going, done it. You go, no, you haven't. You've done it for now. Start planning for the next bit. And I think
it's an iterative process,
we fail on the review bit and planning for the, you know, long-term planning. We do well in some, but in others, we're just not aligning ourselves.
Succession planning, I think we've become more conscious of it in the last 5 or 10 years through things like, you know, there's Practice to Progress. We've seen the NFCC leadership framework come out. We've seen spurts of people trying to give tools. We've seen Hannah Valance's company, you know, doing a lot of our interviews and stuff for us and coaching us on how to put these together. So I see things sprouting, but often I see them external from organizations or in small isolations internally, because we're also back to that. We're too busy to be productive. Do you know what I mean? We're busy going in figure of eights. You know what I mean? Thinking and planning. Because I have this often when I get asked about something. Because I used to just like shoot from the hip with my opinions all the time. Oh, here's the opinion I've made up 5 seconds ago, and I'm willing to die on this hill. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? I never thought about this until you asked me, and now, God damn it, Becky. This is the truth.
That's firefighters though, isn't it? It's like someone said to me once, it's like a pig rolling in shit. Sooner or later you realise, like, arguing with a firefighter, they like it. You know, sometimes I will take in
shit, but the pig will enjoy it. That's the one.
I will take up this opinion. It's not even my opinion. I'm just loving that you have lost it, and I'm going, that's you know.
But our willingness to say, I don't know, Becky. I need to sit with that for a minute, but and thinking and planning and succession planning and, you know, all that jazz is a privilege of mental capacity for a bit of rumination and a bit of real considerate thought about stuff. And I think as we shrink our services down, what we like 10 or 11,000 firefighters less than we had 10 years ago across the UK Fire and Rescue Service, and we're trying to achieve more with less, not even more with the same. Do you know what I mean?
And the more keeps growing. The more keeps growing and growing and growing. And, you know, when you do that thing where you go, you know, you talk to a firefighter who retired 30 years ago and they tell you, oh, you know, job's gone downhill, nothing like when I was there, you know, I had the best days. And you go, you probably did, because you didn't need specialist RTC cutting gear. You pretty much had like a Senga saw and hope, right?
Hope, yeah.
Right? Hazmats, yeah, okay. You maybe had like a hazmat suit that you popped on once every few years, but you didn't have water, you didn't have rescue from height, you didn't have mud, and you didn't have the massive stuff that firefighters now have. So you had time to focus on being really good at putting fires out. And then you had fires to go and practice being really good at putting fires out. And we just do not have that anymore. And, you know, we talk about doing more with less. You know, we have different, as you said, different shift patterns, different working patterns, different, you know, whatever. You know, from a training perspective, by the time you've done a full year cycle of seeing all of your firefighters and your on-call firefighters and your half of them are gone. You got to start again. Yeah. You're just like, right, back to the drawing board. And then the other firefighters are going, oh my God, are we doing this again? And you're like, well, we have to, because you know, but they don't. So we've had to, you know, how do you expand that learning and take it to the next phase when you have to keep coming back to A before you can even think about B and C? So
how do we build more patience into, I mean, you're operating at a different level in your organization than I am. And I, just from spending 2 hours plus with you this morning, I feel very confident, or at least hopeful, that you'll go on to help shape things in a more and more influential position. How do we stem or like pacify our desire for urgency and staying up to date with all the changing technologies and all the cultural changes, and still bring people along with us? And back to that, not making good the enemy of perfect, because it seems like we're only going to continue to try and achieve more, which in itself as an isolated value is fantastic. But as we've alluded to a couple of times, the fragmented nature of our organizations, the different generational shifts within them, I just think it's a very, 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 very difficult square to try and circle. Do you know what I mean? From the senior leaders. And I think it will get even harder if we do start regionalizing more. Like you see Scotland turning 8 services into 1. Like for them to achieve a cultural change, this is going to take significantly longer if they needed to do one. I don't know, you know, I've not read their reports that in depth, but anything they want to do is going to take longer, just because the sheer size of it. People always say that challenge with London, you know, the amount of stations and it's just, you turn into Titanic. Do you know what I mean? So how can we be more patient while still being aspirational in how we progress and all that sort of jazz?
Not to be too Ted Lasso about it. Stay curious. Stay curious. Be looking around. Stop comparing ourselves to each other, right? HMI and record, you know, we're sort of, right, oh, how can I be more like them? Well, you can't. They're them. You can't be like them. That's why we have different services. You have to be what you need right now. But I think, you know, it starts with the strategy. Your strategy needs to be bulletproof. But when you put that strategy out, everyone needs to get on board with it. And you can't divert. You know, you can't have distractions that overpower what your plan is. Because if something comes in and you go, and start, you know,
let's just catch that political beach ball, and I need to do something with this now because everybody said I needed to. You know what I mean? Otherwise, you'll just pendulum from one thing to the next and have achieved nothing over your tenure.
How do we stay on track when the world, as you said, will throw us political? But it won't just be political. We know right now we've got environmental,
economical. Right?
You know, we have so many shifts that cause us. You know, COVID did it. COVID did it to every single service, and we all went, who knows how to use Teams? And we all went, nobody, right? You know, but the point is, I think we need to give ourselves a bit of a break. And I think we need to really, really give ourselves sometimes a little bit more praise than we give ourselves as services.
Let's be kind
I think
to
the
each
fire
other
services,
and to ourselves.
Yeah. Well, it's, Bill and Ted, isn't it? Be excellent to each other. But we achieve amazing things every single day. And yes, there are failings, but if you identify them, okay, we're going to put that right. But not, quick, we need to put it right now. Put it right now. Now. Is it right? Yeah. Yeah. Is it? Did we review it? Well, we've just said yeah because I panicked because you asked me if I've done it yet.
Yeah.
No, we're working on it. It's okay. Because we are never going to be in a place where we can turn around and go, square that.
Yeah.
That's fine. Because there will always be a better piece of equipment. There will always be a building that's going to give you a different challenge. There's always going to be, the bad apple in the barrel. They are always going to be there. And I think, lots of services have fallen into the trap of blanketing because one or two people did bad things. No. Target your education. Culture map the way you do with fire calls, right? We're happy to look at fire calls, right, and go, they get a lot of water calls. We better give them a boat. Cracking, right? Oh, that's right near a really busy road. We'll pop an RT with it and we'll make sure they're rescue trained. Bang it, we're brilliant at that. We're brilliant.
You know what? I've never ever thought about it like that. That is a fantastic way of thinking about it. Because you would do that with your integrated risk management plan. You say, well, why don't you have a cultural risk management plan? So
you heat map. And you've got kids in school, right? It's almost like your parent hub app where they go, they done a naughty, and you go, right? But instead of that being, something to admonish firefighters with, it's something where it becomes a training tool. So
someone needs help.
Yeah, but
and that's the same with the really disruptive class at school. You go, there's clearly a lot of educational needs in this class which are not being serviced by enough supporting teachers and or resources, because that child is just frustrated and angry and not understood.
And as an example, if an incident happens that people services have got to get on board with, triage, is that something that absolutely everyone needs, or do we look and go, oh, that watch, that station, that area. Or no, actually, everyone's having this. Because that gives you more intelligent use of, and you're not smashing people going, oh my God, I'm exhausted because I've just had to go and teach 1,700, 2,000, 8,000 people. And half the people I taught didn't need me to.
No. And it just confused them.
Yeah.
Because you went in there and said,
or worse still, it made them feel bad.
Does anyone know what would be inappropriate contact in this workplace? And they go, what's going on? Has someone done something? Like, would you know it's inappropriate if I just slapped Becky's bum now? And you go, but why would you do that? Like, do you know what I mean? They don't know what you're on about. And then it also just fuels that rumor mill of the lack of trust and skepticism and pessimism. And also, like you say, it's an ineffective use of that person's time, who is a very finite resource, people's services or.
But what you also end up with is, because they're very, very limited with the time that they can deliver, you get a very narrow level of instruction, right? So I'll give you throwaway example, right? But you could go, everyone is taught, because of inappropriate conduct, you never touch another person. You never touch another person. And I go, I'm a BAI. I literally need to teach people to touch each other.
Because they'll fall down the stairs. Or they will, whatever.
That's how they don't lose each other in that build. If you could do the thing you were just told not to do, it's contextual. Yeah. As a BAI, have I, tucked someone's strap off their BA mask in for them and pulled their flasher forward? Told them to turn on and pulled their tunic down because it's written up. I have done all of those things. Is that, or you should never touch somebody, or is that you stop them getting burnt? We need to be able to have more.
I'm not going to attach the thermal imaging camera to your chest and ask you if it's okay for me to touch your chest before I touch your chest. Because it's contextual.
But also, how long are we going to be here?
Yeah.
Before, like, but the time and it's just that sort of like the nuance sometimes gets lost. And I think, we can't help ourselves. Firefighters are absolutely dreadful for it. We love a bit of black and white. Yes, no.
We do.
We love a list. We love an aid memoir. We, policies and procedures, because that's the world that we have leaned into.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, something has happened that definitely, within, and I don't know what your experience is, but definitely within my time in the service, is we have handed autonomy of ourselves as firefighters, crew managers, watches. Mm-hmm. We've kind of handed away, and not for the right reasons, and not always well. So as things like training schools grow, mm-hmm. right? As community safety departments grow, mm-hmm. and you're told, mm-hmm. these are, I want you to go and fit 10 smoke alarms, and I want mm-hmm. you to do 2 SSRIs, and I want you to, and it all becomes very rigid and structured and prescriptive. You've lost autonomy. You're not making mm-hmm. plans for yourself anymore.
No.
So
you're going to properties that don't need smoke alarms to see really
10.
Wealthy people just to hit you 10. Whereas you're going, that lot on so-and-so street down on the back end, they are really struggling. I'll tell you what, I know they've fallen through the gap. They're not on the data sheet or whatever. Let's go and spend some time down there, because we all know that is a melting pot of chaos. People are really struggling in their day-to-day lives or whatever.
But it's again where, we said earlier, it's very difficult to measure what we do. You could have a KPI. Let's look at just KPIs. Oh, you only did one you did one home fire safety check in that hour. And you go, and when I got there, that person was very intimidated. They were mistrusting. They didn't want to let us in. We had to build a rapport. Then we had to get in. Then I realized that, their understanding level was really, really low. So we made sure that we went over things. We reiterated. We took time till I really was happy that they understood what I meant. I could have done 3, but it wouldn't have been worth it. They wouldn't have been safer. I wouldn't have done my job. And how do you measure that in a system to prove that we're, and it's just the impossibility of where we are.
Real, I think progress moves at the speed of trust.
Yes.
So you've got to, in an example like that, you've got to trust that what that team says is what it is. If they said there was a tremendous amount of value in spending an hour there, then there was. Is that open to abuse? Yes.
Yeah.
Of course it is.
I think a lot of leadership teams across the country right now are all looking down going, why don't my firefighters trust me? To which I would respond, do you trust them?
And that's the awkward flip.
Do you trust them? Because it's transactional. It has, there has to be, right? If you don't trust them back, there's an instant, hang on, I'm gonna take this big step back because you don't trust me. So why don't you trust me? Now I can't trust you because you've made me feel frightened, or you've made me feel, so there's that. And, like I was involved really heavily last year and a little bit of the year before, where we were bringing new values into our service. And it was really, really interesting. So when I was going out and speaking to people, I said, when you're thinking about the values that you want to bring for this service, I do not want you to think about you bringing that value. I want you to think about how your manager, your senior leader, and the wider service make you feel valued by that value.
They make you feel valued by that value. If it were lived in reality, would it make you feel valued? Yeah, that value. Yeah. Yep.
So, if I'll go with the core code of ethics because they're going to be everywhere.
Thereabouts.
Integrity. Do you feel trusted by your person sat next to you? Yeah. Do you feel trusted by your crew manager? Yeah. Do you feel trusted by your senior leadership? If they're saying no, hang on. They don't feel valued. Why aren't they feeling valued? And I think if more services were flipping that and going, are our people feeling it, not just living it and being it, are they feeling it? Because if they're not, it's just writing on a wall.
1,000%. That is, that cognitive flip And like you say, we talk about psychological safety, to what's the edge of the circle? Where does your circle extend to? Does it extend just to your team? Does it extend just to your station? Do you know what I mean? Because everyone, they used to have it when Gallup surveys, the old organisation that I used to work for. So Gallup is a big thing with organisations outside of the emergency services. They all use it to measure culture. Not all. A lot of people use it internationally to measure cultures. And there'd be one on there that said, like, do you have a best friend at work? And it was just a quick yes, no. People are like, what do you interpret as that best friend at work? Do you have somebody you can trust and speak to? It doesn't necessarily need to be your line manager, doesn't necessarily be, but people would answer it skeptically because they didn't want it being manipulated and saying that my line manager or my senior leader I trust. Because they're like, well, I don't trust them. Yeah, but do you trust Becky? Do you trust Pete? Do you trust Dave? Sarah?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's somebody you can approach from that wellbeing perspective. But you're right, it's tough because there's a dissipation of responsibility as the net widens, isn't it? So like, I'm sure the senior leader trusts the dep and vice versa, but how do we keep the continuity of that as it moves through those levels? It is, and it goes back to that fragmented piece. It really is remarkably difficult, but things that you've spoken about already, like isolated education versus blanket approaches to people going, well, Becky's under investigation for this. I'm going to treat you all like Becky because I'm assuming you're all that, aren't you? Do you know what I mean? And that's the felt sense. Their intention might have been safety or professionalism, but the accusation that was posed unconsciously was lack of trust. Do you know what I mean? That was,
And it's kind of like, I think it's so easy for departments, and then management structures. So definitely, if you're an SLT, you can become an echo chamber of like, oh, this is going swimmingly. This is great. And it's like,
everyone gets it. We're moving.
And I think, we tend to do this thing where the only firefighters who ever make it into an SLT meeting are usually union members. And it's like, that's great, but just pick two randomly to come up on a truck and sit them in and go, right, we're going to talk about X, Y, and Z today. And we're not going to do this big, like, survey because everyone's, like, going to be absolutely sick of being asked to complete a survey. Yeah, and I just think, like, it doesn't have to necessarily even be firefighters all the time, but just bringing people in and, like, to just go, are we right that this is the feeling out there? Is this, and let's be honest, but that's about also the psychological safety for those firefighters and other members of staff, I should say, to have the confidence to go, no,
Never
and I
it.
think,
Never heard it.
and
then not going, let me speak to your manager. No. All you're doing is putting your finger on the pulse of it and then taking it back off. Not going, there's a problem at your station because you don't know about this, or you're not doing that. You need to see it for the honest, innocent feedback that it is, and just go, okay, it's not the end of the world.
But also don't react as an SLT that is gospel, because those 5 people might have that feeling. The next 5, totally different again.
It's just your finger on the pulse. That's all it is. But it's useful.
Yes, absolutely. But I think, just make sure that, psychological safety being the biggest thing. And it's, we need to do healing until we're there. We need to do growing until we're emotionally intelligent enough to do a lot of the stuff we're aiming for. And whether it's operational learning, whether it's cultural learning, whether it's, personal development, it's a process. And I think we want to be there before we've even realised what we want.
I think there's a lot of things.
Instead of letting it carry, letting the journey happen and being like, we're going in a good direction, but knowing that we might have to take a slight diversion at some point.
I think we need to be very aware of a lot of organisational trauma from reports and fatalities and accusations that are posed at the UK Fire and Rescue Service, and give people that space, which will be longer because of the size of the organisation, to then develop into maturity through the constant prime intention being seek to understand most of the time.
Have you heard of just culture?
Because just culture
right.
is James Reason. I think he's one of the key thinkers on the just thinking.
Yeah, and like I know that, you know, when you look at just culture within sort of aviation, when you look at just culture in other sectors, it's looking at like health and safety and stuff. And don't get me wrong, very, very important place for that to be. I think, you know, firefighters naturally, we're absolutely terrible at going, oh, that was a close call. Anyway, tum. And it's just, you know, next, you know, or
as the vehicle speeds past, Jesus, nearly cleaned me up there.
or you give yourself a slight knock, but it's not quite bad enough, and you go, oh, we won't fit, right? Because we don't.
To go back to your firefighter in the park, I remember a debrief of a aerosol can going off and smacking that bloke in the face. Do you know what I mean? Because it didn't have his helmet and visor down. You don't know what's in the bin fire in the park, the innocent one you've been to 1,000 times. There's human error, but then there's at-risk behaviour and reckless behaviour. They're different things. You know?
Yes, exactly this. And I think we need to let that move a little bit into where we look at our culture and behaviour stuff as well, right?
Oh, definitely, yeah.
You know what I mean? Was there intent? Were they educated previously? Don't get me wrong, some things are just wildly unacceptable. Like, everyone knows.
Conscious malice.
Right?
Cruel.
Some things are obvious. But in other cases, we need to make it so that people feel comfortable to just be. But also, people won't feel comfortable to speak up if they're worried that it's going to result in disciplinaries and all that sort of stuff. But equally, people won't speak up when SLT want that honest feedback, or they won't give their own fully honest answers because they might give something that's reactive. You know, because I think sometimes we can do this thing where we just take sides. Yeah. And it's like, why are we just taking sides? Like, why is it that it's like, well, you know, it's us slot versus them lot. Or it's, you know, stations versus headquarters. It's control versus, it's like, we're all literally in this together, you know. And I think, you know, I've been guilty of it myself where, you know, I would be frustrated, you know. We of course we do. And I think the easiest people for every service to do that to are SLT. Yeah. Because, you know.
Oh, it's all right to be you, innit? How much do you get paid again?
Yeah.
Christ alive. You know.
And it's like, and it's
I always
like
say
actually.
To people, Bill Gates and Jeff Bezos have money problems. Everybody has money problems because you live to your means. Everybody does. You probably don't believe that because that person is a means that you perhaps can't comprehend. But everybody's living to their means. Yeah. You know?
Yeah, but it's kind of like the truth of it is that the financial payoff for the responsibility of what they carry is tiny, really.
It's like 6 or 7 grand a month for some of them. It ain't a lot.
No, not when you consider the fact that it's like. So
big legal ramifications. Big legal ramifications.
Yeah. If a firefighter dies tonight, how much trouble are you in? A lot. If a big report lands and you're on the news tomorrow, how much? Lots. It's, you know, there's all of that. And, you know, I think we forget, and we can all be guilty of it, that we forget that they are human beings and themselves they're also just trying their best. You know, it's that thing, isn't it? You know, it's their first time in the world too. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. And, you know,
I've spoken to probably 50 or so on here, at least, probably more with the 400-something, 500 episodes we've done. And I think it's a very lonely place to be.
Yeah.
It takes a remarkable resilience, and there are different types of all of them. Some of them, I'm sure, whether they came across that way to people in the audience on the day, some of them will have poor intent. Less than 1%. If you put me on the spot, because not as many make it through anymore. The bad ones don't make it through. They get found out. They don't make it there anymore.
But even when we sort of say the bad ones, right, and we can look across, you know, the entire sector in the UK at the moment, and we will see, you know,
I don't mean the way the service is performing. I mean the very rare ones that have undertaken criminal activity usually. Like there's a tiny number.
Slightly different. No, but I mean, even when we look at where services have been picked up on HMI or services have been picked up with cultural reports and stuff like that, and those SLT have carried that and had to leave or, you know, whatever, was that their intent? I very sincerely doubt it. And were those people inherently cruel or evil? I really don't think so. I know some of them. I know they're not. they are literally just carrying what the last lot gave to them, right?
Yeah.
I think the biggest thing to remember about the fire service is whenever you're in it, and that's where we both are now, we're in it. We're currently we're the custodians of it. We honour what came before. We're the custodians of what's here now. And we're trying to look forward to protect something and make something better for the people who come next. That's all we can do. If there was a big book, we're like chapter 8, right? Flick a few pages and we're gone.
And we're
right?
gone.
And we're gone. We know that we are better at firefighting than people were 80 years ago. We don't admonish those people.
No.
In 30 years' time, people will listen to this podcast back and go, what was she talking about?
Oh my God, can you believe they did that?
Oh my God, can you believe? And you just go, but you can't look back through that lens. We're a product of our time, we're a product of our own experience. And if you're looking up at your current SLT with frustration, remember that they are a product of the succession planning, of the leadership development, of the, of all of those things that was there before them. And they find themselves there. If we were to turn around and say, oh, you're not as good at firefighting as people will be in 20 years, you wouldn't like it either. So just...
But I'd also go, I bloody hope I'm not. I hope they're really great at it.
Me too.
I think of myself as nearly 20 years in or whatever. And I'm still going, oh, Jesus, I didn't even know that. And you're telling me it's 30 years old? Because you travel around the world and you go, oh, the future has arrived, but it's not evenly distributed. We weren't in the room for that lesson. We missed out on that bit. Do you know what I mean?
I just think what you said earlier about, you've done this podcast, you've put yourself out there, you've made a choice, right? That it was a choice to try and give something to this sector, to give something to this community that would allow people to see different perspectives and learn things that they would never have had an opportunity to learn about. That's a choice. We can do that, again, at that micro level. You as a firefighter can go, do you know what? I know loads about bariatric. I'm going to go and get on our working group and I'm going to do things, right? Yep. I was really heavily involved at a service level with improving our maternity, right? I'd had my kids. There was no way I was doing that again, right? But it didn't stop me wanting to fight for other people to not have the experience that I had. We should be constantly fighting to leave something better behind us than what we had.
That is the biggest, and you don't need a rank or a position to do it. It's the behaviours that make you a leader. Your title makes you a manager. Behaviours make you a leader, and true leaders are the ones that are planting trees under which they will never sit. They will never get the benefit of it. I started doing this because it's a thing I wish existed when I joined, but there wasn't this when I joined, and nor will there ever be because I'm never going to join again. But I'm like,
but
this
there will
the thing
be
I
someone...
wish existed when I joined it. And equally, it's been the best university I've ever had. It's an entirely selfish endeavour.
But somewhere there is somebody sat possibly listening to this.
Oh, mate, we get messages from it all the time.
Who's just joined or who's waiting for their course to start, going, oh, wow, who will I be in 20 years? Will I
had one yesterday when they said, started listening to it 3 years ago, 2 applications, and I've just been on station for 18 months, just passed my competency and been made competent, and they just wanted to reach out and say thank you. And I was like, oh, so Saturday night, just talking to my missus, and I sat on the sofa, I was like, oh, isn't that nice?
Yeah,
do you know what I mean? And it's like, isn't that nice? That I screenshot them and save them in a little folder on my phone for the days when I'm going like, fuck. You know what I mean? I'm like, oh, it's worth it. I love it. And I just wish there was 50 other people doing the same thing, because there's a million. I used to think I'd run out of people to speak to, but not a goddamn chance. No. There's so much complexity of things going on in our sector and supporting sectors and wider sectors that you just go, it's literally limitless. Literally.
Yeah, we are hilarious. We are hilarious beasts, though, right? Because
we're fantastic.
We will have these days where they go, "Oh my God, I hate it. I hate this job. I hate the fight. Oh, I hate it."
It's a relationship of abuse.
And someone will go, "Well, why don't you do something different?" And you go, "Don't be so ridiculous." Why on earth?
It's like when
this
you
is,
go, he loves me. He loves me. And you're like, is he really mean to you, though? He loves me.
Yeah.
He loves me.
Yeah. I know. I think psychologists could have an absolute field day. They're all like,
yeah, it literally is. We spoke about dogs before we started. It literally is Stockholm syndrome. We have fallen in love with our captor, which is the fire sector, because we just love it so goddamn much, and it gives us a million challenges to solve every day. And that's why I love elements of leadership so much, because working with people, there's a new complex problem to solve every single day. There's a surprise waiting for you every day working with people, and it's the biggest gift, I think.
Where we're so lucky, and I think people don't always realize how lucky we are, within the organization, within the service, people will work in finance because they're specialists in finance. People work in media because they're specialists in media. People will work in procurement or people services, and that is their specialism. And yes, they could go to Marks and Spencer's and IKEA, and they could go and probably be paid significantly more, but they choose us.
They want to do it here.
Because they want to do it here. But equally, what they don't get is the fact that I can go, I'm going to be a firefighter over here. I'm going to be a firefighter over there. I'm going to play with that toy. I'm going to play with that toy. I'm going to learn that skill. I'm going to be an instructor. I think I might go into BFS. Oh, do you know what? I might go into buying things in procurement. I think and you can be a million different people that we have that absolute benefit of being. And I think we don't always
fire service is only boring for boring people.
Yeah.
Sounds harsh, but it is. You are not limited in your resources. You're limited in your resourcefulness and your curiosity. That's what's stopping you. Before
we can make, the ideal leaders and the ideal teachers of the service, we need to have people who want to be learners. We need people who are just, the appetite to learn. We want them to go, no, I want, and the thing that I loved the most from being an instructor, and when I go out to do stuff about high rise, is when you're doing it right, they've lent in, you're like, yeah, I've got you now. Because it's that wonderful thing where they're like, oh, I don't want to. And then a few minutes in, they go,
see the lights switch on in the room in different people. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's suddenly they're like, actually, I'm quite interested. And just what's this got to do with me? Make sure that they can see themselves in why they're being taught this. Quite frequently, we have to give, I'll give high rise as an example. We give high rise obviously to everybody. And if you turn out to an on-call station way out in the sticks that's going, why are you? And you go, because somewhere you're on a PDA. Even though you might not think it, somewhere you're on a PDA. And if we have a really, really bad day, everyone's on the PDA. So you need to know it, because we don't want you to get hurt and die.
It's to wow them and whiff them. You go, X number of high-rise fires have happened in the UK and there's been this many in our service, and then the whiff them. What's in it for me?
Yeah.
And when you're turned out to the city station at 4 a.m. because you are on the PDA for this 18-floor high-rise in the middle, do you know what I mean? This is how it's going to help you. And then they go, oh shit, we are on that, aren't we?
Yeah, and it's
learning game.
Yeah, and if we look at just the whole time, if you're the watch manager in charge of the wildfire station that's out in the sticks, and you're the watch manager in the city that's like, I know high rise inside out, and you go, yeah, you're detached, and they go, hang on, what?
Yeah.
Beg pardon?
Yeah.
Let me just pull that sop out a minute.
Yeah. Stop you when you get into the station 40 minutes early in the morning to just have a quick scan through the task to resource model and what actually does the second pump do again? That's what it's there for.
And I think, the best JOs are the ones who go, you're going to have to be my best people, because I don't know. I've been really lucky and had a stint of doing a bit of flexi. And it's like, if you turn out to a boat and you've never been on a boat, just grab your person and go, you're going to come and be my
boat expert. Come be with me, bestie.
Yeah. Come and stand by here and help me, because the worst thing you can do is go, no, I know. No. And that person's just walk away going, you're a knob. You're a knob.
I always say to them, I'll make the decisions and I'll take responsibility, but I don't have to have the answers.
Yes.
You give me the answers because you're the knowledge. Let's crowdsource our knowledge today. Yeah. I'll take responsibility because that's my job. That's why I wear the different coloured helmet. Yeah. But I haven't got to have the answers.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'll make the decisions. I'll take responsibility. Don't worry about that bit. You know what I mean? I'm not going to sidestep and go, well, Becky said.
Yeah.
Because that's not even going to work. That's not going to work.
No.
Someone will still point at me and go, no.
Someone will go, See this white one?
You're in charge, mate.
Yeah.
Right. I want to be respectful of your daughter, who has been beautifully well behaved.
She has
today.
been brilliant, bless her.
So I want to go and give some time, and I'm going to go crack on with some of the little bits. But I've absolutely loved. We've been speaking for over 2.5 hours, nearly 3 hours, and I feel like we could do 3 more. Don't ever apologize.
Yeah.
Because people say to me, they're like, "How long will it take?" And I'm like, There's nothing too long or too short. It's whether we're enjoying our conversation together. So I always leave massive windows of time. I never do more than one of these in a day. But I'd love to have you back on. I feel like even from my tick list, people won't know we have a list of things that I really wanted to speak to you about. There's 10 we didn't get into. So I'd love to have you back on in a few months' time. But
if I'm still employed when it is,
you don't. But ironically, the podcast is all about the way that people wanted to hear those people as well, because that's often feedback that we get as well. It's like, oh yeah, I knew Becky was like that. Like, she's really funny and quirky and interested in this and that, and she always tells a great story to reinforce a point and all this sort of stuff. But when we put on our professional avatar, we suffocate it sometimes, and that is almost the truest reflection of a lack of psychological safety in our organization. So you have beautifully stood in the footsteps of yourself today.
Good. I do hope.
Which I love. But no, send my love to the family, and I look forward to catching up with you soon.
Thank you so much. That was really cool, and it didn't feel like nearly 3 hours.
Well, that's it for today, folks. Hope you took a lot away from that episode. We started the Firefighters podcast to develop, inspire, connect, motivate, represent, and most importantly, celebrate the world of incredible emergency services operators and the wider sector through this series of wide-ranging conversations. We really love creating this podcast and bringing it to so many people. Did you know you can also find these on YouTube? We do a lot of video podcasts now. You can head over to our YouTube page and follow, subscribe there. And as a final ask from us, whatever platform you're on, please rate the podcast. It really helps us as a key performance indicator to reach more and more people. I've been your host, Pete Wakefield. This has been the Firefighters Podcast. And wherever you are in the world, please stay safe, be happy, and where possible, please remember and support your firefighters and first responders. I'll see you next time.